Chapter 1. The annual awakening ceremony will begin today. Currently, many talented awakeners have appeared in the world. The latest news. A person with heavenly aptitude has appeared in a middle school affiliated to the imperial capital. His ability is currently kept secret. At the same time, a person with heavenly aptitude awakened appeared in a school in Fuzhou country. It is said that his ability is the most destructive lightning. The number of highly qualified students appearing at this year's Global Awakening Ceremony has far exceeded the number of previous years. From the TV, broadcasts continued to be heard. Chu Chen shook his head and immediately closed it. Finally, this day has come. He walked to the window and spoke softly. He is a time traveler, who was reborn into this world and has just turned 18 today. This is a parallel world that is roughly the same as Chu Chen's original world, where there are invasions by alien races and monsters. Humans can also awaken various abilities through awakening ceremonies when they reach the age of 18. These abilities are varied and may include the ability to master the power of space and teleport. Or it may awaken the power of elements, causing thunder and ice to fall from the sky for thousands of miles. Or you can awaken the summoning ability and become an army by yourself. Or maybe sparks could appear from your fingers, and you would never need a lighter again. These are innate awakened abilities, and they can be further strengthened through practice. As for the limit of this strength, no one knows. It is said that the strongest person in the human race today is already an existence that has broken through the void. They have long transcended the blue star and are guarding the human front line in the distant void battlefield to resist foreign invasions. However, there is one difference in this world. In his previous life, Chu Chen was just an orphan, but in this world he has parents. However, his parents in this world died in an alien invasion when he was 3 years old. After only 3 years of warmth, Chu Chen returned to being alone again. Since he was only 3 years old at the time, he was sent to an orphanage by the government. Until he was 12 years old, according to government regulations, he had gradually acquired the ability to be independent, and then all his parents' inheritance was returned to him, allowing Chu Chen to leave and live alone. After leaving the orphanage, Chu Chen bought a house with the inheritance left by his parents and government subsidies and has lived alone ever since. After all, living 2 lives, and living alone is nothing to Chu Chen. And today, he just turned 18 years old in this world, and it was also the annual awakening day. I don't know, what abilities can I awaken? Chu Chen sighed softly. The importance of the awakening ceremony far exceeds the college entrance examination in the previous life. How many people have risen to prominence and embarked on the road to becoming the strongest because of their outstanding awakening qualifications? How many people are mediocre or even inferior in talent and can only be appendages under the brilliance of others? In short, we will know the result soon. Chu Chen, come down quickly, we are going to prepare to awaken. At this moment, a girl's voice suddenly came from downstairs. Looking down, he saw a young girl standing downstairs of his house, waving vigorously at Chu Chen. The girl was wearing a blue school uniform and her black hair was swinging like a waterfall. A pair of dark and clear eyes have now turned into crescents out of joy. Soft red lips and a delicate little nose are gracefully displayed on her innocent face. Without any makeup, she looks more refined and elegant. Mu Sui Huang, one of Chu Chen's few good friends in this world. They became his neighbors after he moved here. Knowing that he lived alone, Mu Sui Huang and her family took good care of him. It just so happened that they were in the same class, so they would make an appointment to go to school together every day. Yeah, it's time. Chu Chen then simply packed up and ran downstairs to meet Mu Sui Huang. Chu Chen, what kind of ability do you hope to awaken? On the way, Mu Sui Huang asked with a smile. As for me, I don't know. As long as the aptitude is decent, any ability doesn't matter. Chu Chen shook his head and said calmly. In this world, the most important thing is qualification. The qualifications in this world can be roughly divided into ordinary sequence and special sequence from low to high. The levels of ordinary sequences are divided into S, A, B, C, D, E, and F, among which S is the highest and F is the lowest. The special sequence is superior to the ordinary sequence, with more impressive qualifications. It is divided into 3 levels from high to low: heaven, earth, and human. Generally speaking, ordinary S level and A level people are considered to be extremely talented. Those in the special sequence are the best among humans, and the highest among them, the heavenly level, is 1 in a million. Hey, I'm talking to you. We are obviously the same age, but why do you always give me the feeling of an old man? It's as if you are not surprised by anything. After hearing Chu Chen's answer, Mu Sui Huang suddenly jumped in front of him, blinked her beautiful eyes, shook her head and sighed. In her opinion, Chu Chen's appearance was very handsome, but the temperament he exuded lacked the vitality of adolescence. Instead, he exuded a sense of simplicity and indifference. This is how he usually speaks, as if without any emotion and calmly. Well, maybe it's nature. Chu Chen just smiled gently. As a person who has lived 2 lives, his inner age is naturally much older than his current appearance of 18 years old. Moreover, living alone all the time has made him lose the vitality that he should have at this age. The two chatted like this along the way, and soon they arrived at the place where the awakening ceremony was held. This is a silver palace that is 50 meters high. It is standard equipment in every city in the world today and is commonly known as the Awakening Palace. Now all the teachers and students from the surrounding schools, as well as those who meet the requirements and are ready to awaken, have gathered here. Due to the importance of the awakening ceremony, there are military troops stationed here. They have set up a long cordon to keep the crowds of onlookers outside and the reporters and media from various TV stations out. Now it is crowded with people. After struggling to squeeze in several times and showing their respective student ID cards, Chu Chen and Mu Sui Huang were finally able to enter. Chu Chen, Mu Sui Huang. Do you know that you were the last to arrive? Did you not take the awakening ceremony seriously at all? As soon as they arrived at the area where their class was located, a female teacher shouted at them angrily. It was their class teacher. Although on the surface they were being harshly criticized, the two knew very well that their head teacher was only talking, so after apologizing obediently, Chu Chen and Mu Sui Huang entered the waiting area safely. According to conversations with classmates around him, Chu Chen also learned that among the students who had awakened before, the highest was AB grade, and most of the others were C grade or below. He was not surprised at all. After all, this was the normal outcome for most people. In the distance in front of them, strange phenomena occurred one after another in the main hall of the Awakening Hall: thunder, fire, ice, and frost. These were the phenomena caused by awakening. However, due to limited qualifications, these strange phenomena are only minor, and the range of their impact is only a few meters away. As more and more people successfully awakened, Chu Chen, who had been calm at heart, couldn't help but start to get nervous. In the end, what kind of abilities will I awaken? Just as Chu Chen was thinking this, his mind suddenly trembled. Ding! It is detected that the conditions are ripe, and the Emperor of Rock Morix panel is about to be unlocked for the host. Chapter 2. Emperor Rock, Mora, X. Chu Chen heard the words in his mind, but the tingling pain all over his body that followed made him feel uncomfortable. Then, the scene in front of him suddenly changed. He seemed to be taken to another strange place. In front of Chu Chen's eyes was the junction of the barren and decaying land and the sea with raging waves thousands of feet high. On the ground, countless cracks extended into the pitch-black abyss, and the originally azure-blue sea water had now turned into a pool of blood. Countless corpses and bones of huge alien beasts lay across the land and the sea. There was darkness between heaven and earth, as if it was the end of the world. However, above this endless darkness, on the dome, a dazzling golden light broke through the surrounding thick black clouds like a sharp sword. In the depths of this golden light, a figure in a white robe stood there without anyone knowing. The figure held a golden spear and waved it casually. Boom! In the distant sky, dull roars suddenly sounded. The sound became louder and louder. In an instant, accompanied by countless brilliant golden lights, huge and incomparable stars that were as scorching as the sun broke through the dark clouds in the sky and turned into dazzling golden lights, smashing towards the sea. An extremely huge star fell into the sea, causing raging waves thousands of feet high. Roar! Along with a howl that seemed to pierce the eardrums, huge heads like dragons jumped out from the deep sea. Along with the roar of this deep sea monster, the entire ocean burst into tremendous waves, carrying the force of thunder and lightning, like the neighing of thousands of horses galloping. The violent waves crashed, and golden bells rang simultaneously along billions of miles of coastline. For a moment, it seemed as if only huge stars and sea tides were left colliding with each other. This scene seemed like the end of the world, and Chu Chen felt his scalp tingling when he saw it. At this moment, he felt that he was too small, like a drop in the ocean or a speck of dust in the desert. The white-robed figure in the sky reached out his hand again, and this time, he threw the golden spear in his hand. As soon as the spear left the figure's hand, it instantly changed to tens of thousands of times its previous size. Like a golden thunder that cut through the chaos, it pierced into the chest of the deep-sea monster in the blink of an eye. In just a moment, the originally extremely violent monster sank to the bottom of the sea, and the roaring tide in the previous second subsided instantly. All these actions happened in just a moment. Gradually, the scene in front of Chu Chen began to blur. Just as the picture was about to disappear in front of him, Chu Chen suddenly saw that the figure in the sky suddenly turned his head and looked in his direction. In just a moment, the picture disappeared, and what remained in Chu Chen's mind was a pair of dazzling golden eyes. In front of his eyes, he returned to the scene outside the awakening hall, but in his mind he once again recalled the sound of Shen Yin, as if a bard was singing softly, "The stone that hides the jade can illuminate the vast world. As brilliant as the stars in the sky, unparalleled in its range. The sky moves everything, and the mountains and seas take shape. Stars appear in the wasteland, shining like the Sunday. The bright moon falls on the branches, and the dragon in the south sky roars. The sun shines for a moment, but it does not move the core of the rock. Ding! The first sign-in mission is now open. Please go to the Awakening Hall to perform the awakening ceremony to receive the reward, Awakening Morix panel." Then, a mechanical voice without any emotion was clearly heard. Although Chu Chen was caught off guard, he quickly reacted and realized that his cheat was here. He was also very familiar with the content of the reward, which turned out to be from the game in his previous life. Morix, the legendary Rock King. Chu Chen suppressed his inner excitement and recalled the previous scene, but it seemed as if he was still dreaming. "Chu Chen, are you okay?" At this moment, a delicate little hand suddenly touched Chu Chen's shoulder. It was Mu Sui Huang. After noticing that there was something wrong with Chu Chen's expression, she couldn't help but ask. "I'm fine." Facing Mu Sui Huang's concern, Chu Chen just smiled and shook his head. After all, he couldn't tell anyone what had just happened. Even if he did, he was afraid no one would believe him. "Everyone line up and don't shout when entering the awakening hall." Immediately afterwards, accompanied by the voice of the head teacher, it was finally their class's turn to wake up. Following the staff, Chu Chen and Mu Sui Huang entered the awakening hall in an orderly manner among the crowd. As soon as he entered the hall, what caught Chu Chen's eyes was a starry sky-like scene all around him. I don't know what material is used, but whether it is the floor, walls, or ceiling of the awakening hall, they all exude a brilliant galaxy, and it really feels like being in space. What is even more eye-catching is that in the center of the hall stands a tall tower that goes straight to the roof. The tower is made up of red and blue, and there are lines of corresponding colors flowing on the surface, making it look ancient and profound. Beneath the tall tower stood rows of neatly arranged black stone tablets. "Place your hand gently on the stone tablet and wait for 3 seconds. The staff in the hall said to them. Soon, the people in front of Chu Chen completed their awakening one after another, but they were basically all B and C levels. When it was his turn to stand in front of the stone tablet, the voice in his mind sounded again, "Ding! It is detected that the host has reached the check-in range. Please start checking in immediately." Taking a deep breath, Chu Chen placed his hand on the stone tablet without much hesitation. A cool feeling suddenly surged into my fingertips. Ding! Mission accomplished, start integrating the Morix panel, boom. The next moment, along with the sound in his mind, the stone tablet in front of him shook violently, and a golden light began to emerge. Even the tall tower in the center was shining with golden light. A dazzling golden beam of light broke through the hall and shot straight into the sky. Although I have no intention of competing, I understand the suffering of the people. I only wish to cleanse the 4 directions and protect a corner of the world. The familiar voice sounded in Chu Chen's mind again. Immediately afterwards, an incomparably violent force instantly filled his whole body. It was as if some shackles were suddenly broken, and slowly, the power completely merged with his body, and an unprecedented feeling of sublimation emerged in Chu Chen's heart. At the same time, the huge sensation caused by this strange phenomenon immediately attracted the attention of everyone in the hall. Not only inside the hall, but also outside the hall, there was a sea of people. Everyone looked up at the golden beam of light that shot straight into the sky. This dazzling beam of light instantly enveloped the entire city in a golden glow. At this moment, everyone was shocked by the strange sight before them, and the ground beneath their feet began to tremble slightly. At the same time, all the mountains and rocks on the entire blue planet seemed to resonate and vibrate in unison. No one knew that far beyond the blue star, above the galaxy in the universe, those meteorites that were originally floating and silent suddenly burst into golden light. Cracks began to spread from the surface of these meteorites, and then the surface shattered, revealing the golden square giants among them. Like the shackles of the mortal world, it illuminates the dark world. Chapter 3. However, these huge stars that appeared in the vast universe returned to nothingness in a flash. At this moment, time seemed to have stopped, and no one could capture this magnificent scene. The perspective returns to Blue Star, to the city where Chu Chen is located. Everyone in the city looks up at the huge golden beam of light with horror on their faces. It was like a golden sword sent down from the gods, and it was intimidating at first sight. Such a strange phenomenon. Such pressure. This is an existence beyond the ordinary sequence. It's a special sequence. A special sequence that is superior to the ordinary sequence. Exactly, what level of existence in the special sequence could it be? The crowded crowd was already noisy at this moment. The golden beam of light represents the emergence of a special sequence of talents, and those who can awaken the special sequence are all outstanding people. In their small Yunhai city, the strongest talent that has appeared since the beginning of the awakening years is only an ordinary S level. The existence of special sequences is something that most people dare not even think about. At this moment, everyone was looking up at the sky intently, their eyes full of eagerness, as if they were expecting something. After a short while, the golden beam of light began to dim, and the lingering golden light gradually transformed into a large word in the air, sky. In an instant, the originally noisy crowd suddenly became silent. It was as if time had stopped, and even a needle drop could be heard clearly by everyone. Heaven! Heaven level! Until a voice that was trembling to the extreme broke the silence, and the person who said this was a woman with a charming face. But at this moment, her face was flushed and her whole body was shaking. This sound also gradually brought the crowd back to their senses. Heavenly level. The highest talent in the special sequence, the heavenly level. An existence that is superior to any other qualifications. With such talent, it is already destined for him to enter the god level in the future. After a few seconds of silence at the scene, it was now boiling with excitement. Quick! Go to the hall and see who has awakened the heaven level. A burly man among the troops stationed outside spoke excitedly, and then he led a small group of people to the hall. Inside the hall, the originally orderly awakening ceremony was interrupted. Everyone looked at Chu Chen in surprise, and time seemed to stop at this moment. But at this moment, Chu Chen had his eyes closed and stood stiffly in place. No one knew that at this moment Chu Chen was feeling a huge force. This force was strong and powerful, but when it entered his body, he felt a little pain. As the power poured in, the stinging sensation became more and more intense, but Chu Chen still gritted his teeth and persevered. Until this power completely poured into his body, a golden transparent barrier instantly appeared around Chu Chen. The barrier is inlaid with dazzling gold edges above and below, and rock-like crystals surround the gold edges, while the center is transparent like jade. Transparent golden lights continued to swirl around Chu Chen, and his originally jet-black hair gradually changed. A faint golden color gradually appeared at the ends of the hair, and if you looked closely, it seemed that there were even dots of fluorescent light lingering around it. His skin became whiter and smoother than before. When Chu Chen opened his eyes again, his originally dark pupils suddenly burst into golden light. A pair of golden pupils appeared in Chu Chen's eyes. At this moment, an indescribable pressure suddenly emanated from Chu Chen's body, making the people around him feel a little breathless. This power makes Chu Chen look like an emperor, and no one dares to look him in the face. At the same time, an illusory panel gradually appeared in front of him. Host, Chu Chen race, human. Level 3 constellation, 0 talent, Rock King 1. Rock, awaken the rock resonance of heaven and earth. The host can use rock as a medium and transform it into a weapon. The quality and strength of the weapon increase with the increase of the host's level. 2 indestructible, the host's physical strength is greatly enhanced, its own toughness is improved, the effects of controlled skills are weakened, and it also gains a certain self-healing ability. 3 blood weapon, all attacks of the host will carry an additional damage of 10% of its maximum health. At the same time, for every increase in the health of a certain attribute, the host's attack power will also receive an additional numerical increase, and vice versa. Skill 1 Earth's core, the host can control the changes in the earth around him and condense a rock jade pillar. The stone pillar can continuously cause continuous damage to the surrounding area. Or, the host can also throw it out. 2. Jade Zhong, the host can gather strength to give himself a layer of shield, which will protect the host from all types of attacks and further improve the host's resilience. Within the shield's range, the enemy's defense will be reduced by 20%. 3-star, the host can gather strength to summon a star rock, which causes huge damage and petrifies the area for a certain period of time. The damage and range of the star rock increase with the host's level. Call. With a long gasp, the power in Chu Chen's body finally merged with him completely. Seeing that the people around him were still affected by his power, he hurriedly withdrew the pressure that he had previously uncontrollable. At the same time, the originally dazzling golden eyes began to gradually dim, until finally, only a faint hint of gold was left in Chu Chen's eyes. Looking at the gorgeous shield around himself, Chu Chen couldn't help but touch it. It was as cool as jade and made him feel very comfortable. "Hello, classmate. I am the captain of the Yunhai City Garrison, Luo Zhongli." Just as Chu Chen was somewhat intoxicated by the comfortable touch, a deep voice suddenly sounded in front of him. I saw the burly man who had led a small group of soldiers coming over at some point. "Hello, my name is Chu Chen." Seeing this, Chu Chen quickly removed the shield around him and replied solemnly. After all, he naturally had respect for the soldiers who were defending their country. Chapter 4. Student Chu Chen, how do you feel now? The army captain named Luo Zhongli also noticed Chu Chen's current aura at this moment. Although it was much more restrained than before, the distance was so close that it still made him a little nervous. "Me? I feel pretty good." After carefully feeling the changes in his body, Chu Chen now feels that he is a world apart from before he awakened. Is this the power of Emperor Rock? He couldn't help but think. Seeing that Chu Chen did not show any abnormality, Luo Zhongli continued, "Student Chu Chen, according to the laws of the Kyushu government, ordinary awakeners can leave on their own after awakening. But you are different. You are one in a million. According to the regulations, you will be tested later to further accurately evaluate your abilities." "Well, I understand. I will try my best to cooperate." Chu Chen had no objection to this. After all awakeners of special sequences were not to be underestimated. As the seeds that would lead humanity to resist the invasion of all races in the future, they would undergo special evaluations after awakening. We are naturally not qualified to make this assessment. Only the specialists appointed by the higher UPS can do it. The news of your awakening to the heaven level has been passed on to the higher UPS. The people they sent will be here soon. Please wait for a moment. After saying that, Luo Zhongli and his group surrounded Chu Chen and walked out of the hall. After all, the awakening ceremony has not yet ended, and there are still many people who have not awakened after him. If he continues to stay in the hall, it will inevitably affect the mentality of those who will awaken later. Crack! Crack! As soon as he walked out of the hall, Chu Chen was faced with a roaring crowd and a dense array of flashing lights. Reporters from TV stations and media focused all their cameras on him. If the army hadn't been blocking the crowd outside, they would probably have all squeezed in. When the long-awaited crowd outside saw Chu Chen come out, almost at the same time, everyone widened their eyes with surprise. It's just because Chu Chen's appearance is so extraordinary now. He was already handsome before he awakened. Now after awakening the power of Emperor Rock King, Chu Chen's appearance has become less vulgar. His slender figure not only does not make him look thin, but makes him look strong and vigorous. His fair skin is set off by his jet black hair, and the touch of gold at the ends of his hair is just right like a gold and stone embellishment. Although his eyes are still black, one can faintly see the light gold hidden in the pupils. Luo Zhongli was standing behind Chu Chen at this time. As the captain of the military team, he was naturally a mature awakener. Because of this, Luo Zhongli's senses were more acute. As he looked at Chu Chen's back, he could always feel a vague sense of pressure. Even though the burly Luo Zhongli was nearly 2 meters tall, he always felt that he was dwarfed by Chu Chen, who was about 1.85 meters tall. He always had a feeling in his heart. Luo Zhongli felt that Chu Chen was like an emperor, and no matter how powerful he was in his cultivation, he was at best just a general. Far from being king. Is this the heaven level? He was destined to be a powerful god-level warrior. Now he could still look down upon the other party, but he was afraid that before long, the young man standing in front of him would be out of his reach. Luo Zhongli narrowed his eyes and couldn't help but think so. After letting the media take a few photos, Luo Zhongli and others hurriedly took Chu Chen to the back hall of the Awakening Hall. The Awakening Hall in Yunhai City is divided into 2 halls, the front hall is responsible for holding the awakening ceremony and allows people to approach, but the back hall has never been opened since its establishment. More military teams are stationed there, and any unrelated people are prohibited from approaching. Under the leadership of Luo Zhenqi, Chu Chen also had a smooth journey and walked straight into the back hall. Compared with the front hall, there is no obvious difference in the back hall, except that there is no divine tower and densely packed stone tablets. In the center there is only a vortex-shaped object like a nebula. And next to this nebula, there was already a woman's back standing. As if she had noticed Chu Chen's arrival, the woman suddenly turned around, revealing her fair, jade-like, delicate and eye-catching facial features. The woman had a slender figure, with jet black hair neatly tied behind her head. She was wearing a tight black combat uniform with fine light armor covering it, which highlighted her curvy figure. Chu Chen only took one look and felt that the woman in front of him gave him a feeling of being very heroic and decisive. "Hello, I'm a specialist from the imperial capital. My name is Mo Sui-han. I'm responsible for evaluating the test you're about to take." The woman spoke without any hesitation, but Chu Chen was stunned when he heard her words. "You know, the imperial capital is more than 500 kilometers away from their Yunhai city, and it has been less than 5 minutes since he awakened, but he never expected that the commissioner would arrive so quickly." Luo Zhenqi, who was following Chu Chen, couldn't help but secretly click his tongue. The specialist in charge of evaluating the awakeners of the special sequence would naturally have a talent no lower than that of the special sequence. As expected of you from the imperial capital. Chu Chen and Luo Zhenqi couldn't help but think of it. "See this nebula-like object next to me?" Mo Sui-han did not hesitate at all and continued speaking. Early on, after humans had mastered the power of awakening, those powerful beings who had entered the godly realm built an independent space together. In this space, there are magical beasts, and they are the test you are about to face. This is a test that only awakeners of a special sequence are qualified to step into. But don't worry. When this space was first built, it was given the function of testing. Therefore, the enemies inside have long been controlled within a reasonable strength range and meet the strength standards of awakeners of a special sequence. After listening to Mo Sui-han's words, Chu Chen also became curious about the test he was about to face. "I have a question. Since this is a platform built to test all awakened people of special sequences, will I also meet awakened people from other cities or even countries after I enter?" Chu Chen suddenly asked. Since there is only one space, there is no reason why he cannot meet other awakened people who are taking the test. Of course, you will encounter special sequences from other cities in Kyushu, but you will not encounter awakened people from other countries outside of Kyushu. Because after the establishment of the space, for the sake of safety, each country set up independent barriers and only allowed awakened people from their own country to appear in the same area to avoid conflicts between countries. Mo Sui-han returned immediately. Hearing this, Chu Chen nodded slightly. Indeed, although mankind today faces a common enemy, countries are still unable to achieve close cooperation, and conflicts and frictions between countries are still frequent. For example, the Fuzhou Kingdom and the Bagua Kingdom near Kyushu have long had deep resentment between them, and some Western countries have even formed their own alliances to contain other countries. Not to mention that in addition to the countries, there are also various forces crisscrossing each other. If this space is really connected to various countries, I am afraid that the test may easily turn into a life-and-death battle. Chapter 5. But don't worry. The number of people who can awaken the special sequence in a year is very small, and the space is extremely vast. Even within your own country, the chance of you encountering other awakeners is very small. Even if you do encounter other people, in order to avoid malicious situations, you need to take this before you go in. Mo Sui-han then handed Chu Chen a light blue token, which was shining with light and gave off a sense of technology. The test lasts for 1 hour. When the time is up, you will be automatically teleported out. If you encounter an irresistible danger during this period, you can use the power of awakening to activate this token, and it will take you out directly. But under normal circumstances, if there is no danger, I still hope that you can stay for a full hour and kill as many enemies as possible. After all, this will not only affect your final evaluation, but more importantly, the enemies imprisoned in the space are not ordinary. If you can kill them, the power you gain from it will be much greater than killing ordinary monsters in the wild. Anyway, when you're ready, just touch the nebula with your hands. Having said that, Mo Sui-han stopped talking and just waited quietly for Chu Chen's response. Good. Chu Chen nodded, and Luo Zhenqi beside him couldn't help but whispered in his ear, Be careful, if it doesn't work, activate the token immediately, don't force it. Well, don't worry, Captain Luo. After putting away the token, Chu Chen walked up to Xingyan and stretched out his hand. For a moment, he felt a white light blocking his eyes, and when he came to his senses the next moment, Chu Chen found himself in a completely unfamiliar passage. There were solid walls on both sides. No one knew what material they were made of, but judging from the aura emanating from them, it was clear that he could not break them at his current level. Therefore, the road before Chu Chen is either to move forward or to retreat. Since he was already here, he might as well make the best of it. Chu Chen was too lazy to turn around and immediately planned to walk in the direction in front of him. But before that, he still had to try out the power he had gained now. At this moment, there were uneven rocks under Chu Chen's feet. Relying on his rock talent, he could use these rocks as a medium to forge a weapon for himself. Thinking of this, Chu Chen began to try to mobilize the power in his body. In just a moment, he felt a strong resonance between himself and the rocks under his feet. Almost involuntarily, he punched the ground hard. The powerful force instantly shattered the heavy rocks and reached into them. The next moment, when Chu Chen took out his hand, he found that his empty hand was actually tightly grasping a pitch-black spear. Painyan's talent allowed Chu Chen to forge any weapon he wanted at will. Without much hesitation, Chu Chen decided to forge a spear for himself. There are only two reasons. First, in his previous life, the Rock King Emperor he remembered was most famous for his rock spear. Second, in addition to the power of awakening, this world also has a variety of ancient martial arts and weapon techniques, a small part of which have been officially released for free for all people to practice. After all, human beings are now facing countless crises, and martial arts among the whole nation has gradually become the mainstream trend today. Chu Chen naturally also practiced some basic ancient martial arts, and was also good at using guns. Chu Chen casually made a gun flower in the air with his spear, and then walked forward. The passage was very quiet, and there was no other sound except his own footsteps. As Chu Chen went deeper, the smell of blood and decay began to gradually spread. He sniffed a few times, and a dangerous smell gradually enveloped his heart. Hiss! Until a low growl like that of a wild beast came from the darkness in front, and almost at the same time, a pair of blood-red eyes flashed out from the darkness. It was a very thin black shadow, but because of its light body, its speed was very sharp and almost impossible to capture with the naked eye. Moreover, while the black shadow was moving at high speed in the air, it was also constantly changing its direction, floating left and right, up and down. Feeling the strong murderous intent in the black shadow's blood-red eyes, Chu Chen did not dare to delay and immediately waved the spear in his hand, trying to stop the black shadow's advance. However, the speed of this monster was so amazing that it broke through the gun dance's obstruction before Chu Chen could do so and flashed behind him. The shadow's gaze focused on the back of Chu Chen's neck, with a hint of cunning in his eyes. Then 6 cold lights appeared in the air at the same time, and rushed towards his back impatiently, as if to tear Chu Chen's body into pieces in one fell swoop. As his attack got closer and closer to Chu Chen, the joy in the black shadow's eyes became more and more intense, as if he was about to feel the bloody touch of his hands tearing the other person apart. However, facing this unavoidable attack, there was no urgency on Chu Chen's face. Instead, he closed his eyes, as if resigning himself to his fate. Clang! Until accompanied by the sound of metal and stone clashing, a layer of gold and jade shield appeared around Chu Chen's body without knowing when, and the black shadow's attack hit the shield squarely. However, even with such a fierce attack, it did not create any ripples when it hit the shield. Instead, the black shadow's claws were hit back by the shield, and its skin was torn and blood was flowing. This was a scene that the black shadow could never have expected. The piercing pain from his claws caused his body to stagnate in mid-air. Just when Chu Chen seized this opportunity, his eyes suddenly opened, and then the spear in his hand stabbed quickly backwards. I saw a cold light first appear on the black shadow, and then the gun shadow like a dragon directly pierced through the black shadow's body. Under the blood-stained sky, accompanied by a shrill scream, the black shadow suddenly split into two and fell to the ground. Chu Chen then took a closer look and discovered that the black shadow was actually a magical beast that looked like a black cat. But before he could relax, he suddenly heard a series of rustling sounds behind him. Looking back again, he saw a blood-red gaze appearing in the darkness in the distance. Following closely behind, there were hundreds of times more black shadows like the previous one, rushing towards Chu Chen one after another. Without any hesitation, relying on the jade shield, Chu Chen raised the spear again and slashed at the monsters. In an instant, streams of smelly blood flowed from the bodies of these monsters, but the opponent's offensive seemed endless for a moment. After stabbing and killing nearly 100 opponents in a row, countless black shadows still jumped out from the front. Chapter 6. The dense number of people in front of him completely exceeded Chu Chen's expectations. No matter how hard he waved the spear in his hand, he could not hinder the advancement of the group of black shadows. Thinking of this, Chu Chen pondered for a moment. Not only was there no worry on his face, but he stopped the attack and stroked his chin to think. He was very curious about the limit of what his current jade shield could withstand. Without Chu Chen's attack blocked, the group of shadows in front of him suddenly rushed towards him recklessly, instantly spread around his body, and began to launch a violent and fierce attack on Yu Zhang's shield. This time, under the joint attack of hundreds and thousands of black shadows, the surface of Chu Chen's jade shield finally began to shake and ripple a little, but overall it was still unbreakable. It was a pity for these black shadows. Before their sharp claws could attack the shield a few times, they were immediately turned into a bloody mess and could only fly in the air wailing miserably. Seeing this scene, Chu Chen was delighted. It seemed that Lord Yan's shield was indeed as good as its reputation. He might not need to do anything himself, as these shadows would be defeated because of the shield. Haha, looking at the black shadows that were constantly attacking with great effort all around, he couldn't help but yawn. Although these black shadows couldn't break his defense at all, he couldn't keep following these guys. He was even more curious about what else he would encounter if he continued to move forward. Thinking of this, a golden light flashed in Chu Chen's eyes, and he swung the spear to the side with force. Buzz, boom. Suddenly, the ground beneath his feet began to tremble slightly, and with a loud bang, a thick rock pillar more than 2 meters high broke out of the ground. The vibration caused by it instantly blew away a large number of enemies around. The black shadow that was closer to the rock pillar was suddenly torn into pieces, leaving the passage filled with broken limbs and flesh. It was his skill core of the earth that created the rock ridge with the power of rock. Not only could it cause huge explosive damage to the area within the instant it broke through the ground, but it would also continue to spread energy fluctuations in all directions, achieving a continuous attack effect. Boom, boom. Along with slight sounds, circles of golden ripples continued to spread out in all directions with the rock ridge as the center. All the black shadows affected by the ripples fell uncontrollably from the air to the ground. Blood gushed out of their bodies, gradually gathering into a pool of blood, which made people feel palpitating. What Chu Chen didn't know was that at this moment, far away in the imperial capital, in a dim and huge conference room, the huge conference table was already full of people, and in the center of these people's sight, there were densely packed light curtains floating. The scenes presented on these light screens are all pictures of different awakeners fighting, and the most eye-catching one is the huge light screen in the center. This light screen was more than 10 times larger than the other light screens, and the image displayed on it was Chu Chen holding a spear with his back to the crowd, with corpses full of black shadows under his feet. The blood spurting out of their bodies kept flowing out of the screen. Ding! Congratulations to the host for leveling up. Current level, 5. Along with the mechanical voice in his mind, the power in Chu Chen's body became more solid and powerful. The realms of the awakened people in this world are divided into 10 levels. According to the level division, every 10 levels are a level. For example, level 1 to level 10 are the range of first level awakeners. Among them, the awakened ones from level 1 to level 3 are in the Kaiwan realm. After reaching the third level, each level will be a different realm, namely, there are the mountain moving realm, sea overturning realm, star picking realm, moon embracing realm, king ennobling realm, transcendent realm, and sky creation realm. Above the 10th level is the legendary god level. The common people are basically within the third level of Kaiwan realm. Generally speaking, only those who have reached the 4th level of Banshan realm can be called a truly independent awakener. After unlocking the power of the Rock King, Chu Chen's level directly reached level 3. Now, after killing this large group of black shadows, the power provided to him is enough to allow him to increase his level by 2 levels. Since he had received a reward in strength, Chu Chen's fighting spirit naturally became more intense. Without any hesitation, he stepped over the layers of corpses under his feet and continued to rush forward. The seemingly narrow and endless passage gradually came to an end, until Chu Chen stepped out of the crowded passage and his eyes suddenly opened up. What appeared in front of him was a dense forest with a bright moon and sparse stars. The light evening breeze blew through his hair. Rustle. From time to time, the sound of flowing water could be heard in the distance. If Chu Chen hadn't known that he was still in this space, he would have thought that he had traveled to the wilderness again. Is this what a human god-level strongman can do? Create an independent space, and the scene in this space is no different from the outside world. It is completely another world. He couldn't help but sigh, but this relaxed atmosphere didn't last long. With a sudden loud noise, a huge figure emerged from above Chu Chen's head. He saw a huge monster jumping in front of him at some point. Its body was as big as a small mountain. There were sonic booms in the air, and the strong wind that swept out made Chu Chen's clothes whistling. Without any hesitation, Chu Chen quickly dodged to the side, and the next moment, boom! The dust that was stirred up covered the area, and the huge vibration caused by the fall of the giant object also made the surrounding trees tremble 3 points. This was actually a silver-haired giant ape that was 2 meters tall. A huge hole had already been smashed under the giant ape, and its 2 burly arms were entangled with strange black mist. Although it was not clear, Chu Chen was certain that the giant ape in front of him was by no means comparable to the group of black cats before. Roar! Seeing that the attack missed, the giant ape suddenly beat his chest in anger, and his bloody mouth opened, revealing hideous fangs that reflected a creepy silver light under the moonlight. Chu Chen also immediately discovered that there were several ice blue arrows stuck in the giant ape's body. Most of these arrows were broken, but they looked like they had been inserted not long ago. Bite! At the same time, the system's reminder came to his mind again: trigger a special mission, defeat the silverback giant ape to get a reward, White Tassel Spear X1. Chapter 7. A special mission has been triggered? Chu Chen couldn't help but be shocked when he heard the voice of the system in his mind. Since the reward was a white tassel spear, its attributes must be much stronger than the weapon he had forged with rock. Thinking of this, looking at the silverbacked giant ape in front of him, Chu Chen once again tightened the rock spear in his hand, considering how to penetrate this behemoth. Seeing the silverback giant ape change direction and ready to rush towards him, Chu Chen took a deep breath and took a step forward. Whoosh! Whoosh! Unexpectedly, just when he was about to fight the silverback giant ape head-on, several sharp sounds of breaking through the air suddenly came from mid-air. Then several blue streaks of light were seen rushing out from the dense forest in the distance. They were actually arrows condensed from ice crystals, which hit the back of the silverbacked giant ape heavily. Roar! This attack obviously caused the giant ape great pain. It turned around with a roar, as if it was going to tear the source of the attack to pieces. Chu Chen was also stunned by this sudden change. Just when he didn't know what was going on, a figure suddenly jumped out from behind him. Sensing the changes behind him, Chu Chen quickly turned the gun around, but unexpectedly what came into his sight was a graceful girl. The girl seemed to be about the same age as him, with delicate features and a proud bust. She was wearing a light white robe and had extremely eye-catching blue hair. At this moment, the girl was holding a longbow that looked like it was made of ice crystals. When she saw Chu Chen pointing the gun at her, her mouth puffed up in displeasure. What are you still standing there for? Do you want to fight the silverback giant ape alone? Come with me. After saying that, the girl didn't wait for Chu Chen to respond, but grabbed his arm and dragged him into the dense forest in the distance. What surprised Chu Chen was that although the girl was petite, she was extremely strong. However, he also realized that the girl's original intention was to save himself. She shot the arrow to attract the giant ape's attention, and then took the opportunity to take him away from the giant ape's range. At this point, Chu Chen did not resist at all and let the girl take him into the dense bushes. The two hid behind the bushes. The girl watched the giant ape in the distance still howling crazily. She breathed a sigh of relief and asked curiously, "You are the awakened from another city, right? Are you here to take the test like me?" Hearing the other party's words, Chu Chen also remembered that Mo Suihan once told him that it is possible to meet awakened people from other areas of Zhuzhu in this space. And based on the girl's words, he can also be sure that the girl and himself are just awakened and participate in the special sequence of the trial. Well, thank you for what I just did. Although he wanted to kill the giant ape just now, the girl obviously wanted to save him out of kindness, so he still thanked her. It's nothing. Long before I came here, my father told me to be friendly with other awakened people I met. He said that as special sequence people, we are responsible for the future of Kyushu and even the entire human race. If we see someone in distress here, we must help them. When Chu Chen heard the word father from the girl's words, he guessed that the other party might be a lady from some noble family. After all, It was rare for ordinary people to address others like that. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Lu Mengli, and I'm an Ice Awakener. Did you know that the silver-backed giant ape is a mutated magical beast? Its strength has reached the middle stage of the First Order Awakener, which is equivalent to the late stage of ordinary magical beasts. In layman's terms, it is equivalent to a boss. Even for us who are special sequences, it is difficult for us to be its opponents at this stage. So you should leave here and go to another place for trial later. Has your strength reached the middle stage of the first stage? After hearing what Lu Mengli said and looking at the silver-backed giant ape that was still going crazy in the distance, Chu Chen couldn't help but stroke his chin and ponder. His level now is 5, and according to the rule that every 10 levels is a stage, he is now at the middle stage of the first stage. The silver-backed giant ape may not be without the ability to fight. Besides, he had triggered the white tassel spear mission. In order to get stronger equipment, he still had to try it himself. Thinking of this, Chu Chen's eyes condensed, and then he said to Lu Mengli, "Thank you for your kindness. Please go first. I must destroy the silver-backed giant ape." "What? Are you crazy? Even if we have the token, we can rely on it to escape in an emergency, but you will be seriously injured, which will seriously affect the evaluation of this test." Lu Mengli couldn't help but shout anxiously. She couldn't understand why this guy in front of her wanted to go back again after she had just rescued him. Although Chu Chen is very handsome, is it possible that his IQ is inversely proportional to his appearance? Lu Mengli wanted to say something to dissuade him, but Chu Chen just stretched out his finger to signal her to keep quiet, and a golden light gradually appeared in his pupils. An indescribable feeling emanated from Chu Chen. Lu Mengli didn't know why, but she felt very at ease, as if the man in front of her exuded a great sense of security. Lu Mengli watched Chu Chen walk out of the bushes and walk towards the silver-backed giant ape. Looking at his back, she felt very at ease. Perhaps, he can really. Chu Chen's reappearance quickly attracted the attention of the giant ape. Bang! With a loud bang, the giant ape jumped high again, trying to smash down towards Chu Chen. Careful! Lu Mengli couldn't help but draw her bow and arrow. Seeing the giant ape's body as big as a mountain, she was still extremely worried. However, the bowstring that was ready to shoot suddenly stopped, and Lu Mengli's eyes showed an extremely strong surprise. Dark gold and stone appeared out of thin air, surrounding Chu Chen in a circle, and the golden transparent shield flowed with wisps of gorgeous patterns. "Is this a shield? I've never seen such a beautiful shield." Different from the monotonous shields of ordinary awakeners, Chu Chen's shield is more like a work of art, made of fine gold and stone and finely carved jade, which is extremely eye-catching. Boom! Just as the giant ape was about to fall from the sky, a golden light flashed in Chu Chen's eyes. He attached the rock element in his body to the rock spear, without leaving any strength behind, and instantly released the ultimate spear intent. The ancient martial arts spear techniques that he had practiced since childhood flashed through his mind one by one. Along with the hissing sound of the rock spear in his hand, golden light and shadows were drawn in the air as he swung it. At this moment, he and the giant ape were surrounded by a violent rock elemental force within 100 meters. Buzz 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 chi! In an instant, it was unknown how many times Chu Chen stabbed, and an extremely domineering aura surged from the tip of his gun. The gun shadows overlapped into countless ones, like a violent storm, and there were bursts of crackling sounds, which made Lu Mengli, who was watching the battle from afar, feel thrilling. Chapter 8. Boom! Until, among the dense gun shadows like a storm, the most extreme shot finally pierced out. The rock element completely wrapped around the gun body and stabbed towards the giant ape's chest with unstoppable force. Bang! Boom! Two tremendous forces collided in mid-air, and the ground rumbled in an instant, as if there was an earthquake. The two did not confront each other for too long. The silver-backed giant ape could not bear it first and was blasted dozens of meters away by Chu Chen's gun shadow, and then fell heavily to the ground. The originally silver hair was now covered with sticky blood, and a dark hole the size of a fist appeared on the giant ape's chest. On the other hand, Chu Chen had used up most of his strength in that attack. At this moment, he was gasping for breath, but there was not a single injury on his body. Most of the silver-backed giant ape's attacks were blocked by his attacks, and the small part of the attacks that were missed could not break through the defense of the jade shield at all, so Chu Chen did not feel any impact except that he was a little tired. Is this guy a monster? His talent is definitely not at the human level of the special sequence. I'm afraid his talent is at least at the earth level, or even that. Seeing this scene, Lu Mengli stood there in a daze with her mouth wide open. She did not dare to think further about the legendary heavenly level, the existence of a special sequence within a special sequence, a god-level talent that surpassed any other qualifications. Roar! Roar! At this moment, slight roars continued to come from the giant ape's mouth, and it was obvious that the previous attack did not kill it. But for Chu Chen, it was just a struggle to survive. He threw the rock spear in his hand and disappeared from the spot in an instant. Only a residual shadow was seen whizzing towards the giant ape, and a series of illusory gun shadows fell from the air along the way. Bang! 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 Several gun shadows hit the giant ape, finally wiping out its last breath. In fact, Chu Chen knew that if he used the heavenly movement to summon the heavenly stars to attack at the beginning, the silver-backed giant ape would probably not be able to withstand even one blow. But there was no need for that at all. He wanted to take this opportunity to hone his close combat abilities. Ding! Congratulations to the host for leveling up. Current level, LV7. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the special mission. The reward White Tassel Spear has been distributed to the host's system space. Immediately afterwards, two mechanical voices kept ringing in Chu Chen's mind. He did not expect that the experience brought to him by the silver-backed giant ape was so high that it directly allowed him to level up twice. It was indeed a boss-level monster. But what Chu Chen was most looking forward to was the White Tassel Spear. Thinking of this, he hurriedly took out the White Tassel Spear from the system space. White Tassel Spear attributes: increases host's attack by 30 and critical hit chance by 15%. Special effect: the host's normal attack will gain an additional 16% attack bonus, which can be stacked 3 times within a short period of time. It is said that the long spears used by the Emperor's Thousand Rocks army, even if the white tassels are stained in the smoke, will still stand proudly and flutter. There are some differences from the properties in the game. Anyway, this is the best weapon I have at the moment. Chu Chen looked at the white-tasseled spear in his hand. The dark black spear body was very deep, and the white tassel was extremely eye-catching. As for the weapon he formed with his rock talent, Chu Chen decided not to use it as a melee weapon at hand, but to directly turn it into a rock spear and throw it for a long-range attack. That! Just as Chu Chen was immersed in his new weapon, a slightly shy voice suddenly came from behind him. After seeing his current strength, Lu Mengli even spoke cautiously. Can you tell me what level of talent you have in the special sequence? She was so curious that she wanted to verify whether Chu Chen was the legendary god after just awakening and possessing such amazing power. Okay, my qualifications are. Facing the other party's inquiries, Chu Chen did not intend to hide anything. After all, judging from the sensation caused by his awakening today, it was likely that the news would have spread throughout the streets and alleys by now. But before he could finish his words, Lu Mengli's figure suddenly became blurred, and then the whole person disappeared in an instant. This strange sight made Chu Chen slightly stunned, but he quickly realized that Lu Mengli's trial time must have expired, so he was forcibly teleported out. In this case, he did not stay there for too long. Chu Chen should have spent more than half an hour in this space to kill the group of black cats and the giant ape. In the limited time left, he had to seize the opportunity to find other monsters and gain more experience to upgrade himself. Thinking of this, Chu Chen raised the spear in his hand, picked a direction at random and rushed forward. Wherever it went, wherever there were monsters, they were covered by a hail of gunfire, and the earth was rumbling continuously. Imperial capital, or in that conference hall among the densely packed light curtains, Chu Chen's figure was still visible on the huge light curtain in the center. What was being shown was the scene of his previous battle with the silver-backed giant ape. Facing the mutated boss-level monster, facing the giant ape that was most notorious for its strong physical body, Chu Chen actually severely injured the opponent under the head-on impact. It was not until everyone saw that the giant ape had completely lost its life that they all sighed in unison. How can I put it? It's just incredible! Someone exclaimed softly. As a heaven-level warrior, I am not surprised that he was able to kill the silver-backed giant ape shortly after awakening. What surprised me was that he won, too easily. Yes, it seems that in the direct confrontation with the silver-backed giant ape, this kid did not suffer any injuries. Is it because of his shield? I have never seen such a gorgeous shield. It is simply a work of art. At the conference table, many people began to discuss at once. In their opinion, it was not surprising that Chu Chen, who was at the heaven level, could kill the silver-backed giant ape. In fact, in the tests over the years, there have been many heaven-level warriors who were able to kill boss-level monsters like the giant ape. But without exception, after killing their opponents, they would be seriously injured themselves, and even the one with the lightest injury would still bleed. On the other hand, Chu Chen was just a little out of breath due to exerting too much energy, but he was not injured at all. This was the first time they had seen it. Chapter 9. Ding! Congratulations to the host for leveling up. Current level, LV8. In the space, Chu Chen kicked a wild boar-like beast away, and at the same time, a prompt for upgrading came from his mind. At this time, Chu Chen was standing in a dark hall, with sticky blood dripping from the tip of the white-tasseled spear in his hand, but the white tassel on the spear was still spotlessly white, not stained by any filth, and all around him were piles of bloody corpses of monsters. A huge rock ridge stood beside him, and golden ripples continued to spread in all directions, causing a slight resonance in the ground. It should be about time. After counting on his fingers for a moment, Chu Chen had already been in the space for nearly an hour, and it was estimated that he would be teleported out soon. I didn't expect that I would reach level 8 in such a short time. If time wasn't limited, it wouldn't be impossible for me to directly break through to level 10 and become a second-level awakener. Looking at the broken limbs on the ground, Chu Chen couldn't help but sigh that the quality of the monsters in this space was indeed extraordinary. If he were to level up by hunting monsters in the outside world, he would probably be far from reaching his current level. At the same time, particles of light suddenly emerged around him. These particles attached to Chu Chen's body, making his figure gradually become illusory. The vast expanse of white once again obscured his eyes, and when his vision returned, he returned to the back hall of the Awakening Hall. Until he looked around, he saw that there were still only Luo Zhongli and Mo Suihan in the hall, but both of them had expressions of intense astonishment on their faces. Have my assessment results come out? Chu Chen naturally knew that if Mo Suihan wanted to evaluate him, then everything that happened in his space must have been revealed to the other party. His words also made the two of them react. Mo Suihan no longer had the calm expression she had before. She stared at Chu Chen with her watery eyes. After a moment, she shook her head and sighed. The evaluation levels range from S, A, B to D, and your performance is completely outside this range. Having said this, Mo Suihan paused for a moment before continuing, your performance far exceeded our expectations. I alone cannot give you a complete evaluation. Your evaluation result was personally taken over by the Imperial Capital. They unanimously agreed that your performance was. It's one of a kind. Unique? What kind of evaluation is that? Before Chu Chen could speak, Luo Zhongli at the side couldn't wait to ask. Chu Chen himself was also confused about this so-called unique evaluation. After all, it could be uniquely good, or it could be unique in other aspects. Student Chu Chen, the higher UPS are more satisfied with your performance than ever before. They all agree that from now on, your performance will be the ceiling of this trial. Simply put, your current evaluation is the best in Kyushu. There will never be another evaluation like you. You think so highly of me? But I don't think this is a good thing. It is certainly gratifying to be recognized for one's performance, but the evaluation is too high, and Chu Chen can't help feeling that he is being praised too much. Seeing Chu Chen's calm expression, Mo Suihan and Luo Zhongli were also puzzled. After all, in their opinion, a young man full of vigor and vitality would show some joy when receiving such high praise. However, Chu Chen seemed completely unmoved and did not try to hide his joy at all. I always feel that beneath this boy's young appearance, there is a soul that is completely incompatible with him. Mo Suihan couldn't help but think, and then she handed a black card to Chu Chen. The card was dotted with golden patterns, which looked very noble. Chu Chen, most awakeners have the right to choose their own colleges, whether it is one of the 5 famous colleges in Kyushu or a foreign college, but you are different. Every country has regulations that all awakeners with special sequence talents above the human level must study at the highest institution of learning in their country. So, classmate Chu Chen, I regret to deprive you of the right to choose. You can only choose to study at the Imperial Capital University. This is the Imperial Capital Academy's black card that symbolizes the highest talent. It is also proof of your identity. 10 million in liquid funds have been pre-deposited in the card. After you enter the academy, all tuition and living expenses will be waived, and you will also enjoy corresponding discounts in the academy's currency platform and credit system. Mo Suihan finished speaking a lot in one breath, and then waited quietly for Chu Chen's reply. Chu Chen was not surprised when she said that she could only choose to study in the Imperial Capital University. After all, this rule was open to the world. Generally speaking, ordinary sequence awakeners can freely choose to study at home or abroad, while special sequence human-level awakeners can only choose to study at the 5 major universities in the country. The so-called 5 major universities in Zhuzhou are also divided according to the 5 major war zones in Zhuzhou, namely the Donghai Academy in the Eastern War Zone, the Zilan Academy in the Western War Zone, the Baili Academy in the Northern War Zone, the Nanshan Academy in the Southern War Zone, and the Imperial Capital Academy, which is the highest level and located in the Central Imperial Capital. As for the awakeners above the special sequence human level, that is, the Earth level and Heaven level, they have no right to choose and can only be taken over by the Imperial Capital Academy. After all, these qualified awakeners are too important. In the hundreds of years of battles between humans and foreign enemies, most of the situations were controlled by awakeners of special sequences. No country would allow its special sequences to flow into other countries for learning. Only awakeners of ordinary sequences could be sent to each other under the slogan of communication, cooperation, and mutual learning. Of course, in some special cases, the two countries will send special series of students to study in other countries as exchange students, but such cases are very rare. Chu Chen knew very well that he had no reason to refuse. He had no interest in studying abroad, and the Imperial Capital Academy was the #1 university in Kyushu. Even if he was allowed to choose, he would choose the Imperial Capital Academy. Besides, there is 10 million yuan in the card. With this money, he doesn't have to worry about living expenses anymore and can focus on practicing and becoming stronger. So without any hesitation, Chu Chen took the black card from Mo Suihan with both hands. I will abide by the rules and go to the Imperial Capital Academy to study. After hearing his reply, Mo Suihan felt relieved and said again, there are still 2 months before the new semester starts. I will stay in Yunhai City during these 2 months. One is to protect you, and the other is to take you to the Imperial Capital in 2 months. Don't worry. Although I stay here, I won't disturb your life in the next 2 months. You can move freely. I can only protect you if I sense that you are in danger. If nothing unexpected happens, we'll see each other in 2 months. After saying this, Mo Suihan's figure instantly disappeared from the spot. Chapter 10. Suddenly, Luo Zhenqi and Chu Chen were the only ones left in the back hall. Before Luo Zhenqi could fully recover from his surprise, Chu Chen asked first, Captain Luo, can I go home and rest now? After fighting non-stop for an hour in this space, Chu Chen couldn't help but feel a little tired. Okay, but the awakening ceremony is not over yet. We still need to stay here. You should go back and rest first. Do you need me to find someone to take you there? Luo Zhenqi also reacted immediately. Chu Chen originally wanted to go back by himself, but suddenly remembered the fanatical crowd outside the temple. If he chose to leave on his own, he would probably be buried by the sea of people, right? After thinking about it, Chu Chen said, Captain Luo, please find someone to take me there. As if seeing his confusion, Luo Zhenqi smiled and nodded, don't worry, we will help you secretly during this period and try our best to prevent those overly enthusiastic people and media from disturbing your daily life. As soon as he walked out of the back hall, he was unsurprisingly surrounded and blocked by the crowd and media outside. Fortunately, there are troops here to maintain order, otherwise Chu Chen really couldn't imagine what would happen. It was not until he got on the military vehicle that he breathed a sigh of relief and returned to the long-lost peace. Fortunately, with the intervention of the military and the government, the fanatical crowd did not follow Chu Chen all the way home. After returning home, he took off his clothes and washed up. After taking a shower, Chu Chen clenched his fists as he looked at his finely crafted muscles in the mirror. He seemed to be able to clearly sense the power of the rock element flowing in his body. Just when he was still feeling unsatisfied, there was a knock on the door. Chu Chen quickly put on his clothes and looked through the peephole. It was Mu Sui Huang. How is it, have you also completed your awakening? As soon as they met, he asked with great interest. After all, he doesn't have many friends in this world, and she is the only one he is close to. Ah, it's only A level, and it's related to fire. Mu Sui Huang pretended to shake her head with regret, and when she stretched out her slender jade hand, flames attached to her hand. A-level talent is already pretty good. As the level second only to S-level in the ordinary sequence, A-level is also very popular and can be said to be extremely talented. Of course, the premise is that I can't compete with you. Great genius. Mu Suihuang suddenly sighed heavily and put a hand on Chu Chen's shoulder. You are a special sequence. And you are the highest level in the special sequence. The top talent of humans in this world. She shouted with envy on her face. Did you know that the military almost completely blocked off the neighborhood where we live in order to protect you? If I couldn't prove that I used to live here, I'm afraid I wouldn't even be able to return home. Besides, my talent is so great compared to yours that even the sun and the moon pale in comparison. Great master, please hold me in your arms and don't forget me when you become successful in the future. Then the girl said in a mischievous and exaggerated manner. Be serious. Chu Chen knocked her head with a frown on his face. Ahem, I've told you so many times not to hit my head. You won't grow taller. Mu Suihuang immediately said, touching her head with an unhappy look on her face. I'm not bragging. You're a famous figure now. It must be that the higher UPS are protecting you. Otherwise, your house would have been surrounded by a crowd of people. Hearing her words, Chu Chen also looked out the window. Indeed, there were very few people following here, and only occasionally could one see some people in the distance taking pictures of something in this direction. It seems that Luo Zhenqi did not lie to him, and they are indeed protecting their lives from being disturbed. Although you are relatively calm in real life, you have become extremely popular online. Mu Suihuang then handed the phone to him again. Chu Chen took a closer look and saw the densely written words on the screen, surprise. The first special sequence awakener in Yunhai City is born. Heaven level awakener Chu Chen, click here to watch the explosive video. With both good looks and talent, the true prodigy of Yunhai City. Chu Chen. Headlines of all sizes are eye-catching news. There were also a lot of photos of him at that time, as well as an image of him with the panel just unlocked, his eyes shining with golden light, and the Yun Yuzhang shield surrounding his body. Chu Chen had to admit that the photo looked pretty handsome. Seeing this, he couldn't help but close his eyes and rub his slightly trembling eyebrows. Is this what it feels like to be on the news? Why do I feel a little confused? Aren't big stars used to it? Mu Suihuang said jokingly. Not only in Yunhai City, you and other awakeners of special sequences have all been reported to the people of Zhuzhu, and there are more. She then lowered her head and started searching again. Okay, I got it. Chu Chen quickly spoke up to stop the other party. He suddenly didn't feel that interested. Come on, look, someone has posted your information. Mu Suihuang showed it to him again, and saw that someone had listed his hometown information, educational background, and even his childhood photos. And below his information it was written in big red letters, probably single. How come there is even a marriage announcement? Chu Chen said helplessly. Actually I feel like it's more like a wanted poster. Mu Suihuang said in a low voice. Thanks to you, as your close friend, I also found out my information. She then pouted and said unhappily. As an A-level talent awakener, although he is not as talented as Chu Chen, he can also be called a genius. So there are quite a few news about Yi Yao, but not as intense as Chu Chen's, nor as wide-ranging as his. According to the rules, you should go to the Imperial Capital Academy, right? Oh my, that's the Imperial Capital Academy, the #1 academy in Kyushu, and it's ranked first in the world along with several other famous schools. Mu Suihuang spoke again with a look of longing on her face. We were both equal students this morning, but how come a pathetic barrier has suddenly emerged between us? Then she muttered again. Don't say such indecent things. Chu Chen already felt helpless about Mu Suihuang's personality. Chapter 11. Mu Suihuang quarreled with Chu Chen for a few more words and then stopped disturbing him. After all, she had just awakened her power and couldn't wait to start practicing. Chu Chen's home became more lively and energetic because of Mu Suihuang's arrival, but became quiet again after Mu Suihuang left. However, Chu Chen really enjoyed this quiet atmosphere. He thought he was not a person who liked noise. With nothing to do, Chu Chen opened his virtual panel again and looked at it. Basically, there was no major change, except that his level had reached level 8 and the strength of various skills had been improved. Just this constellation, how do I unlock it? Looking at the constellation column in my information column, it still has capital 0. In the previous life's game, one had to draw cards to unlock the constellations, but now that he had traveled to this world, it was not a game after all, so the specific unlocking method made him very confused. Chu Chen knew very well that the strength of the constellation was extremely important, Unlocking each constellation could greatly enhance one's own abilities. If he could unlock the constellation as soon as possible, he would have more confidence in his strength. As if sensing his doubts, the system's words rang out again in his mind, ding. Every time the host reaches level 10, the system will trigger a special legendary mission for the host. Completing the legendary mission will earn you a large amount of rewards, including the key item to unlock the constellation. At the same time, as the host's realm improves, this system will unlock more functions and gain more power for the host. I see. After listening to the system's explanation, it seems that if I want to unlock the constellation, I also need to complete the task. However, since it is a legendary task, I am afraid that the difficulty is not comparable to ordinary tasks. By the way, there is also the issue of holy relics. Since I have unlocked the panel of the Rock King, there should be holy relics as well, right? Ding. This is natural. The host's level is detected to be sufficient. The panel of the holy relic has been unlocked for the host. As the system spoke, 5 empty spaces suddenly appeared on the virtual panel in front of Chu Chen. As a reward for pioneering the land, the system will draw a complete set of 3-star relics for the host for free. The system's words were a little more joyful, but Chu Chen said in a low voice with some regret, only 3 stars. Ding. Please pay attention, the current world is not a game. The attributes of the holy relics will be adjusted along with the world. Even if it is only a 3-star holy relic, it can already provide the host with great strength. Please do not be too ambitious. If you want to unlock more powerful equipment, you need to quickly improve your realm. However, unexpectedly, the small murmur was accurately captured by the system, and it began to persuade Chu Chen. Then, an image of a virtual gasapon machine appeared in front of him. Looking at the red button in the center of the gasapon machine, Chu Chen reached out and pressed it. Ding! Congratulations to the host for drawing the immovable suit. As the gasapon machine roared, a few breaths later, 5 objects shining with green light appeared in front of him: immovable flower, immovable feather, immovable cup, immovable sand, immovable crown. Quality, 3 stars. Attributes, each relic will enhance 3 attributes of the host, namely health, physical defense, and spell defense. Effect, 2-piece set, host's maximum health increases by 10%, and resistance to knockback increases by 10%. 4-piece set, all attacks of the host will carry an additional damage of 10% of the maximum health, the shield strength is increased by 15%, and the elemental recovery ability is slightly improved, and the toughness is increased by 20%. After seeing clearly the attributes of the holy relic he had drawn, Chu Chen couldn't help but show a bit of joy. As the system said, the world he was in was not a game, and he could not simply judge the enhancement that this set of relics would bring to him in this world based on their quality in the game. It directly increases the maximum health of both sides, provides toughness and resistance, and most importantly, strengthens the shield. Each attribute shows that this set of relics is completely in line with its name, immovable. After he unlocked the talent of the Rock King, his physical strength was already far beyond that of ordinary people. If he were to equip himself with this suit, his defensive capabilities would be greatly enhanced. If he fought against opponents of the same level, even if he just stood still and allowed the opponent to attack him, it would be difficult for him to break his defense. Do you want me to go the blood cow route first? Chu Chen couldn't help but think so. Ding! No, the host has unlocked the Rock King's talent. The maximum health and attack power complement each other. Every time the host improves one of the attributes, the other will also be improved in a corresponding proportion. In other words, the physical strength is not only improved in terms of the host's health, dual defense, and resistance, but also in terms of strength. Simply put, the higher the health value, the higher the host's attack. Every attribute improvement will bring all-round benefits to the host. The system reminded. This also reminded Chu Chen that he did have a blood weapon talent among his own. His own attacks would gain a bonus to his maximum life, and no matter which of these 2 attributes was improved, the other would also gain a corresponding increase. And these are just the attributes he has just awakened. As his level increases in the future, the gains will become greater and greater. Blood Warrior. Blood Bowl. Martial God? I see. Whether it's the Blood Bowl style or the Martial God style, I want them all. Chu Chen smiled softly, then equipped the 5 holy relics on his panel. He felt a huge force instantly surge into his body, and his strength was greatly increased. Ding! Sensing that the host's fighting spirit has increased, the system will draw a pie for the host. No, let me reveal it first. After the host reaches level 10, a new ability will be unlocked for the host, 1000 Rock Army. After the host reaches level 10, he can melt rocks to forge 1000 Rock Army. After saying this, the system fell silent again, but to Chu Chen, it was undoubtedly like a shot of cardiotonic. Feeling the power surging in his body, he couldn't help but sigh, it seems that I have to find a way to quickly improve my level. Chapter 12. The next morning, Chu Chen jumped out of bed, washed up, had breakfast, and then went out. It's very simple. After awakening his talent, Chu Chen was directly taken over by the Imperial Capital University. Now he doesn't need to go to school at all. As for the subsequent procedures, there will naturally be someone to handle them for him. According to Luo Zhenqi, he now only needs to focus all his attention on cultivation, and any other tedious matters will be handled by others. The reason Chu Chen left home this time was to go to the suburbs outside Yunhai City for training. Outside the east gate of Yunhai City is a stretch of mountains and forests, which have long been occupied by warcraft. There are military garrisons outside, making it an excellent place for awakeners to train and obtain warcraft resources. However, given Chu Chen's current fame and his already extraordinary appearance, once he steps into a crowd he will be extremely eye-catching and cause a huge sensation. So Chu Chen didn't stop for a moment and rushed straight towards the east gate of the city. With his current physical strength, even if he ran very fast, ordinary people could only catch a glimpse of a shadow passing by them. In fact, Chu Chen's home was almost half the distance from the east gate of the city, but as he hurried on his way, he arrived at the edge of the east of Yunhai City in about 10 minutes. Although the 10-minute journey was fast, it did not consume much of Chu Chen's physical strength, so he still looked calm now. Except for his rapid breathing, he recovered quickly. He raised his head and saw a magnificent city wall that was 100 meters high standing in front of him. The city wall is made of the strongest alloy material in the world today. It towers into the clouds and shines brightly under the sunlight. Chu Chen's arrival naturally attracted the attention of the soldiers stationed at the city gate. When they saw Chu Chen coming, they all looked surprised. After all, in Yunhai City, no one is unaware of Chu Chen's fame. Student Chu Chen? Captain Luo has already told us that you can go to the wild for training at any time. A tall soldier in the lead said to him. Generally speaking, newly awakened awakeners are not allowed to go out to the wild for training, because their control over their own power is not yet mature. Only after at least 1 month of systematic training can they be allowed to leave the city. However, that is relative to the ordinary sequence after all. As a special sequence, one can obtain extremely powerful strength once awakened. Awakeners like Chu Chen can go out of the city directly for training. But you must remember that you can only train in the outer areas. There are third-level monsters roaming in the middle and deep areas. It's not that we don't believe in your strength, but you must understand your importance. We can't let you suffer any accidents. There are also troops stationed outside the training ground. If you encounter any danger, you must retreat immediately and seek military protection. Another soldier followed suit. I understand. Thank you for your reminder. Chu Chen was naturally aware of his own importance. Although he seemed very free on the surface, he must have been secretly being watched for a long time. And there is Mo Sui Han, the commissioner sent by the imperial capital. She also said that she would stay in Yunhai City to protect him secretly before the Imperial Capital Academy opens. Now that I am going to the east of the city for training, Mo Sui Han must have known about it a long time ago, but I just didn't realize it. After a simple registration, Chu Chen left the city and stepped into the wild. Shortly after he left, the leading soldier gently pressed the intercom on his face. Captain Luo, Chu Chen has left the city. Call. Walking out of the city and looking at the endless woodland in front of him, Chu Chen breathed a sigh of relief. Once upon a time, this place was part of the urban area and a place where humans lived. However, it fell into desolation with the outbreak of war, and the shadows of mountains appeared on the distant horizon. Although the city's alloy walls that are hundreds of meters high provide good protection for humans, they are like a birdcage and make people feel suffocated. Only in such a vast nature can you feel the long-lost freedom. When Chu Chen was about to approach the outskirts of the forest, he saw the troops stationed there. Before he could say anything, the soldiers stationed here warned him like the previous 2 soldiers guarding the city, and then let him go directly into the forest. It was not until we stepped into the outskirts of the forest that the atmosphere around us gradually became tense. The trees here are very tall and sturdy. Perhaps affected by the power of awakening, each tree is at least 50 meters high. Therefore, the huge tree canopy almost completely blocks the sky, leaving only a few rays of light pouring down through the gaps. However, this kind of environment is very beneficial to Chu Chen, who has awakened the power of the rock god. Relying on the surrounding mountains and the rocks and soil under his feet, he can produce a slight resonance with them and thus sense some changes nearby. The giant tree could no longer block his vision. He could see that not far away, 100 meters away, a team of awakened ones were fighting against monsters. Chu Chen chose to go in a direction where there were fewer people. After all, the more people there were, the more people would compete with him for experience. There is a giant monster 50 meters ahead, and there is an adult armored rhinoceros 100 meters to the left at 9 o'clock. No one is around, very good. The resonance between Chu Chen and the rocks allows him to fully grasp the changes around him. He planned to choose the nearest one and attack the giant monster first. The so-called giant monster is a humanoid monster that is affected by supernatural powers. Its normal size is between 10 and 20 meters. It has only the instincts of wild beasts but no wisdom. Soon, after pushing aside the bushes not far away, the giant monster was completely exposed in front of Chu Chen. This is a giant about 10 meters tall, covered with dirty black hair. He is climbing on the tree and trying to pick the fruits on it. At the same time, the giant also noticed Chu Chen's appearance, and his originally dull eyes suddenly lit up. Giants like to eat meat, especially humans. They will only pick wild fruits to fill their stomachs when they have no choice. It seems that this giant is already starving and impatient. The opponent's speed did not slow down at all due to its huge body. Instead, it was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, the giant jumped down from the tree trunk, opened its big mouth towards Chu Chen, and wanted to tear him to pieces in one bite. Seeing the giant's sharp teeth so close at hand, Chu Chen did not panic at all and let the other's big mouth bite him hard. Bang! Roar! With just a sound of metal clashing, the giant's originally extremely sharp teeth suddenly shattered into pieces. Blood splattered in the huge mouth of the abyss, and the giant fell on the ground in pain, rolling madly. The jade shield surrounded Chu Chen's body at some point. Not only could the giant's teeth not break through the strength of the shield, but they were also shattered by the backlash of the shield. Chapter 13. Oh! Chu Chen smiled lightly, stretched out his hand, and the white tassel spear was grasped in his hand. With a slight force of his feet, the whole person instantly flew into the air and jumped above the giant. Then Chu Chen fell from top to bottom with the white tassel spear in his hand. The rock element condensed on the spear body, leaving a long golden tail in the air. At this time, the giant was still immersed in pain. When he noticed the abnormality above, the tip of the spear had already pierced his neck, and his body was separated in an instant. Perhaps the noise caused by Chu Chen's attack was too loud, which directly alarmed the armored rhinoceros not far away. As the ground shook, a rhinoceros monster that was 5 meters tall and covered in black armor suddenly appeared. The armored rhino leaped high and turned into a huge shadow covering Chu Chen's head, as if it wanted to crush him into meat paste with its huge body. However, no matter how powerful the falling momentum of the armored rhino was, Chu Chen still stood there motionless, just staring at the huge body of the armored rhino pressing down on him. Bang! With a loud crash, the huge body of the armored rhinoceros fell directly on Chu Chen's shield. In an instant, dust and smoke rose up, and huge amounts of dust flew rapidly in all directions. The strong wind generated by the fall also made the tall trees nearby whistle. As for Chu Chen's body, the seemingly tiny and transparent shield actually completely blocked the impact of the armored rhinoceros. Apart from some ripples flashing, there was nothing unusual about the entire shield, and there was no sign of it breaking at all. Even the armored rhino, a magical beast, had not expected such a result. Seeing that the attack that it was so proud of could not defeat the weak human in front of it at all, it just stood there in a daze for a moment. Time seemed to stand still. Seeing the monster's brain crashing, Chu Chen chuckled and raised his hand to raise the white tassel spear to pierce the monster's body. Just as the tip of the spear was about to touch the armor on the armored rhinoceros, Chu Chen suddenly stopped what he was doing, and then as if he had thought of something, he put away the spear and stretched out his empty left hand forward. The rock elemental power with golden sparkles began to emerge from his body surface, turning into dazzling streams of light that attached to Chu Chen's left arm. Boom! Then, the ground beneath his feet began to rumble slightly, but soon, the rumble grew louder and louder. Until, boom! Along with a loud thunder-like sound coming from the ground, a huge hand made entirely of molten rock suddenly rose from the ground. His palm was so big that even a huge armored rhinoceros could be held in it with ease. The loud noise obviously brought the stunned iron rhino back to its senses, but seeing that it was firmly grasped by a huge rock hand, the iron rhino tried hard to move its huge and hard body, but was completely unable to break free from the giant hand's restraint. Chu Chen was not surprised at all when he saw this scene. Just now he suddenly thought that since his rock talent could melt rocks into various weapons, it meant that he had the power to manipulate rocks. Then, there is no reason why he could not use rocks to melt into other objects, just like the giant rock hand in front of him. He used the rock element resonance of the rocks under his feet to imitate his left arm. On the hand that was made entirely of rock, there were dazzling golden lights constantly flowing on the surface of the arm, which was the power of the rock element gathered in it. The noise caused by Chu Chen's molten giant hand was so huge that it attracted the attention of many people around him for a while. The awakened ones who were not far from Chu Chen were attracted by the loud noise, but they were all dumbfounded when they saw the scene before them. The armored rhino has always been famous for its huge size, immense strength, and solid defense. For most awakened ones, the armored rhino with high attack and defense is a nightmare for many of them. But now, before their eyes, the huge armored rhinoceros was being firmly grasped in a hand that was even bigger than itself, like a mouse. No matter how hard it roared or struggled, it could not shake the giant rock hand at all. Especially when they saw Chu Chen next to the giant hand, the astonishment on their faces was even more intense. That's not the one that just awakened yesterday. That heavenly awakener. It's Chu Chen. Did he do this? He just woke up yesterday. How could he? Everyone was stunned, especially when they saw a giant monster with its body separated from its body next to Chu Chen. They were even more amazed. Seeing that he had attracted so many people to come and watch, Chu Chen immediately manipulated his giant hand and squeezed it hard. Roar! In an instant, accompanied by an extremely miserable wail from the iron-armored rhino, the black armor on its body, which it was proud of, was torn into pieces, blood splattered everywhere, and its huge body immediately lost its life. Ding! Congratulations to the host for leveling up. Current level, LV9. Listening to the system prompts in his mind, Chu Chen nodded with satisfaction. It seems that this armored rhino is not an ordinary monster, otherwise it would not be possible for him to upgrade so quickly. This scene also completely shocked the crowd watching from afar. The armored rhino was crushed to death right in front of Chu Chen. For a moment, many people couldn't help but take out their mobile phones and start taking pictures and videos. After all, as Chu Chen is now a heavenly level, any action of his can cause a huge sensation, not to mention such a precious battle scene. Seeing that he had made too much noise and attracted more and more people, Chu Chen realized that it was not advisable to stay here for long. He then headed towards a less crowded place and disappeared in front of everyone as a shadow. As for the huge rock that remained in place, it collapsed shortly after he left. In the following time, Chu Chen went deeper and killed many monsters, and he just cooked the flesh of these monsters to fill his stomach. However, the quality and level of these monsters were too weak, and the experience they brought him was far less than that of the giants and armored rhinos before. Therefore, his experience bar is still more than halfway to level 10. Bang! In mid-air, a rock spear made of condensed rock pierced through the body of a tiger-like monster. It was almost dusk at this time. The sunlight shining through the gaps now appears even more dim and reddish, and looks even more eerie against the backdrop of the dim surroundings. Work at sunrise and rest at sunset, this is the law of human beings. Even the awakened ones will not choose to continue training in such a dangerous warcraft territory. At this point in time, the awakened people in various parts of the mountains pack up their things and prepare to leave. The location Chu Chen is now in is closer to the center of the mountains, where there are more powerful monsters, and night is the best time for these monsters to be active. So to be on the safe side, Chu Chen decided to stop and go home first. Chapter 14. As Chu Chen was heading towards the outskirts of the forest, the sky was suddenly covered with dark clouds and a light drizzle began to fall. He checked his cell phone and saw that the time was almost 6 in the evening. Through resonance with the nearby rocks, Chu Chen also found that he could no longer sense any trace of other people along the way. It seemed that other people's evacuation speed was much faster than his. Of course, due to his current level, the range of his perception is very limited. Perhaps there are people outside his range who are evacuating out of the forest like him. However, the rain in the sky became heavier and heavier, and in the blink of an eye, the previous drizzle turned into raindrops as big as beans. In desperation, Chu Chen had to release the Yuzhang shield. Under this protection, the rapid raindrops could only stay on the surface of the shield for a short time. However, the golden light emerging from the jade shield was already dazzling, and now it was even more eye-catching in this almost completely dark forest. An inexplicable sense of crisis surged in his heart. Chu Chen made a rough estimate and found that according to his current speed, he would be able to leave the forest in about 10 minutes. To be on the safe side, he also held the white tassel spear tightly in his hand, ready to guard against the unknown hidden in the darkness beyond his perception. Just as Chu Chen was fully immersed in his journey, he suddenly caught a glimpse of distant tremors through the sound of heavy rain. There seemed to be a faint sound of human wailing. Chu Chen couldn't help but frown slightly after hearing this strange sound. Damn it! On an empty land somewhere in this forest, a man with blood all over his body and a disheveled face was lying there. Around him were several men and women covered in dust and bleeding. They seemed to be the awakened ones who came to the forest for training. At this moment, they were huddled together, protecting the dying man lying on the ground. Gathering above the crowd's heads, there were flying strange creatures that looked like humans but had a pair of pitch-black wings on their backs. They flew around the crowd, completely blocking these awakened people in the open space. Below these creatures, there stood humans dressed in black robes. The huge robes completely concealed their figures and appearances. Assholes, they are the remnants of the 10,000 races cult. They are actually reaching out to us. Among the awakened ones who were still able to stand up, a tall middle-aged man said with a serious face. The so-called 10,000 races cult, in simple terms, is a huge force established by the traitors who betrayed humanity and turned to the 10,000 races after the world's superpowers awakened and the 10,000 races invaded. They hate their human bodies and believe that the invading races are the gods sent by God to guide humanity forward. They wear black robes to worship them and provide them with intelligence and all other conveniences. If these traitors hadn't set up an ambush, we wouldn't be trapped like this with them and the blood bats. Next to the man, a tall woman with short hair responded. Those creatures flying in the air with human bodies but wings are the blood bats, one of the myriad races. The dust on her face could not hide the woman's beautiful face. She was wearing a dark blue tight light armor combat suit, but now this light armor was already covered with scars, and many places were directly torn, revealing the woman's fair skin under her clothes. As she spoke, the woman looked at her companions who were in the same desperate situation as her, and the exit in the distance that was completely blocked by the group of blood bats. Her whole face revealed a trace of despair. Now in such a desperate situation, it is impossible for them, who are almost exhausted, to fight their way out. At this moment they can only pray that someone will find them and notify the army stationed outside the forest to rescue them. Are you still holding out hope that some outside help will come to save you? At this moment, the black-robed man who was the leader suddenly spoke with a sneer. What? This sentence also instantly stunned everyone who still held out a glimmer of hope. The other party actually dared to say this. Could it be that they? The man in black robe cleared his throat and continued, since we dare to take action, we must be fully confident. The troops stationed at the entrance have long been held back by the monsters we prepared in advance. Now they are busy with their own affairs. It will take them at least half an hour to deal with the monsters. During this time, there is absolutely no chance of your survival. After saying that, the man in black robe suddenly took a step forward and came in front of the tall middle-aged man. Then, with dark mist entwined on his right claw, the man in black robe's right hand actually pierced directly through the man's chest. Ah! As the man let out a shrill scream, he was thrown high into the air by the man in black robe. Team leader! The others screamed instantly, and the next moment each of them burst out with the last of their strength and began to frantically attack the black-robed men around them and the blood bats in the air. However, the strength that the group was now on the verge of exhaustion was only 1/10 of what it could exert. After just one fight, they were instantly suppressed by the followers of the 10,000 races sect. The middle-aged man who was thrown into the air was swarmed by the blood bats who had been waiting for him for a long time, and his originally intact body was torn into pieces of flesh and blood in an instant. The blood in the body mixed with the rain and fell down, dripping on the heads of those who were still struggling to survive. My lord! Please enjoy this delicious feast during this time. The black-robed followers below knelt on the ground and worshipped with their hands clasped together. Then, the blood bats flying in the air fell straight down and pounced on the crowd below. The blood bats descended from the sky, ripped off a human's head in an extremely brutal manner, and began to eat it with big mouthfuls while emitting a hideous and evil laugh. No, no! The short-haired woman's tears blurred her vision. Seeing the people around her letting these aliens wreak havoc, she still shouted for help even though she knew it was useless. But at this moment, no matter how loud the sound was, it was not louder than the torrential rain that was pouring down. The sky and the earth were washed clean, completely trapping them here. There is no hope. The woman stopped shouting. Her originally pretty face was already covered with despair. She opened her eyes wide and just watched the blood bats in the sky flying towards them, until it stretched its sharp claws towards her head. The woman closed her eyes and finally accepted this helpless result. After just a few breaths, the pain that she had been prepared for did not occur in her body, and the hideous laughter of the surrounding blood bats that were originally madly attacking also disappeared in an instant. Chapter 15. The woman slowly opened her eyes again, but was surprised to find that a huge rock pillar had extended from under their feet. There were exquisite carvings on the pillar, and golden ripples were spreading out in all directions with the pillar as the center. And those blood bats who originally wanted to land near them were now all blown away by the surging golden ripples. Blood bats, blood bats. A deep voice suddenly sounded above everyone's head, and they saw a slender figure standing on the huge stone pillar. For a moment, everyone's eyes were focused on this sudden figure. The eye-catching appearance, the extraordinary temperament, and the golden jade shield surrounding the body are an existence that anyone who takes a look at it will never forget. That heavenly level, Chu Chen. The woman finally recognized him and exclaimed in surprise. Is it him? The black-robed man at the head was even more fanatical. They were naturally aware of the existence of Chu Chen, a heavenly level person. But they didn't expect that Chu Chen would dare to come here alone to train on the second day after awakening. If I can capture him, then I will. The faces of the men in black robes were filled with excitement. They knew very well that if they could capture Chu Chen, who was extremely talented, and bring him back to the church, it would be a huge achievement. Sir! Let's work together to capture him alive. The man in black robe couldn't wait to shout to the sky, and the blood bats flying around naturally knew the importance of Chu Chen. With his god-level talent, he was a very important person no matter which side he was on. However, Chu Chen, standing on the stone pillar, still murmured in a low voice, "Blood Bat Clan, it's you." His voice suddenly became excited, and in a trance, everything before his eyes overlapped with the time when he was 3 years old. It was also on such a heavy rainy night that the originally peaceful city turned into ruins. Chu Chen, who was only 3 years old when he traveled to this world, witnessed the cruelty and bloodiness of the alien invasion. He could only watch the monster flying freely in the air and laughing hideously. He watched as his parents stood in front of him and tried their best to protect him behind them. They watched as the monsters stretched out their sharp claws towards their parents and their bodies were torn to pieces by them. Also torn apart were the warmth and family affection that he had never felt in his previous life. I was lucky enough to be rescued, but my parents were left forever in that dark rainy night. The blood bats and black-robed men who were ready to make a move suddenly froze in place. They saw a dazzling golden light blooming in Chu Chen's eyes. A strong, indescribable feeling of oppression suddenly emanated from Chu Chen's body. It was as if the emperor himself had come, holding boundless killing power in his hands. An unprecedented sense of fear spread in the hearts of everyone present, and even the temperature around them dropped to zero in an instant. Chu Chen remembered that in the previous life in the game, in the later Liu, whenever people talked about the Geo King Morux, generosity, selflessness, and benevolence, these words were the most frequently mentioned. The Geo King loved his people like his own children, and his selfless rule brought a happy life to the people of Liu. The Geo King loves the land and people of Liu. In front of everyone, Morux always shows his generous side, like an old father, witnessing the growth of Liu day by day. However, how could an emperor who could fight his way out of a war between demons and gods where many heroes emerged and protect a corner of the world in a time of chaos rely solely on benevolence? The boundless murderous image of the Geo King is always displayed in front of his enemies. His generous image in the hearts of the people of Liu is an everlasting nightmare in front of those demons. Chu Chen is now filled with murderous intent as he sees a group of blood bats appearing before his eyes again. What if these guys are not the enemies who killed his parents? As long as we completely wipe out the blood bats and kill one by one, there will be a day when we will eliminate our enemies. In an instant, the tip of the white tassel spear turned into a silver stream of light and pierced into the sky, like a swimming dragon, instantly crashing into the dense formation of the blood bat clan. In just a moment, countless guns pierced out from Chu Chen's hands, leaving only a golden afterimage in the sky, illuminating all directions. Puff, 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 Puff! The bodies of countless blood bats exploded instantly under the gunfire, and the smelly blood mixed with rain dyed the world red. However, this was not enough. How could he let these guys die so easily? Along with the trend of the rock element, bursts of roars were set off from under the ground. One after another, arms made of rock rose from the ground and grabbed the blood bats flying around. The size of these palms was far less than the huge ones he had previously forged to deal with the armored rhinoceros, but they were greater in number. Any enemy caught in his hands would be crushed and exploded alive in the next moment. Chu Chen deliberately slowed down the squeezing process in order to let these blood bats feel the pain and listen carefully to the sound of every bone in their body beginning to break. He rushed directly into the densely packed blood bat tribe with a spear in hand. In an instant, the golden shadow of the spear obscured the vision of the surviving awakened ones, and they only saw heads falling from the sky. At this moment, Chu Chen was like the god of death, causing blood and gore wherever he went. Not far away from this place which had become a killing field, on the trunk of a giant tree, a man in military uniform was watching with horror. He was ordered by Luo Zhongli to secretly protect Chu Chen. In order not to be discovered, the man kept a distance, which also allowed him to avoid Chu Chen's resonance perception. But throughout the day, everything he saw and heard while following Chu Chen left him dumbfounded, whether it was the giant and the giant armored rhino that were killed at the beginning, or the hunting scenes that went deeper and deeper and left corpses everywhere, all made him marvel at Chu Chen's power. But all the shocks he had experienced today combined were not as shocking as what he saw before him. The followers of the 10,000 races cult and the large number of blood bats are not comparable to ordinary magical beasts. The recorder worn on the man's chest also recorded this scene in full. Luo Zhongli and Mo Suihan were standing in the command post of the garrison troops in Yunhai City. In front of them was the scene transmitted by the recorder. At this moment, both of them were dumbfounded, and their scalps tingled as they watched Chu Chen slaughtering people unilaterally as if he was in an empty space. It's only the second day since he awakened. Is this a heavenly level existence? Luo Zhongli shook his head and sighed. No. More importantly, the remnants of the 10,000 races cult have infiltrated our side, as well as the Blood Bat clan. I'm afraid they have been planning this for a long time. Then his face became solemn again. Once the 10,000 races sect and the alien races intervened, the matter would become very difficult and there might be a potential war. How's the monster riot outside the forest going? Luo Zhongli then asked a soldier beside him. Report. The momentum of this riot is not as big as in the past, so most of them have been suppressed by us now. The remaining small number of remnants are expected to be eliminated within 5 minutes. The soldier replied immediately. Okay, leave some troops behind to suppress the remaining monsters, and send the others to the forest to support Chu Chen immediately. Luo Zhongli hurriedly gave the order. Although Chu Chen now had an overwhelming advantage, there was no guarantee that these enemies would have any backup plans. He was not at ease leaving him alone. Chapter 16. Soon, according to Luo Zhongli's order, a group of well-equipped troops from the army stationed outside the forest immediately rushed into the forest. Upon learning that reinforcements were on the way, Luo Zhongli breathed a sigh of relief. If he had not been the commander and had to stay here, he would have gone to support them long ago. Then he asked Mo Suihan who was standing beside him, Commissioner Mo, you. Before he could finish his words, Mo Suihan interrupted him directly, I understand. I only have one mission now, which is to take action when Chu Chen encounters irresistible danger. So you don't have to worry. I will rush over immediately to prevent any accidents. After saying that, Mo Suihan also stretched out her jade hand. In an instant, gusts of wind swirled around her body, carrying her away in a flash and disappearing on the spot. Seeing that all the commissioners from the imperial capital had arrived, Luo Zhongli finally felt relieved. After all, he learned today that the strength of this imperial capital commissioner has reached the terrifying level of the 6th level of star-picking realm. The full force of an awakened person in the star-picking realm is enough to destroy a city. With such a strong man in charge, Luo Zhongli felt more at ease even if he discovered traces of the 10,000 races sect and alien races. Meanwhile, Chu Chen's solo slaughter was still going on at the original spot. Now most of the densely packed blood bats had been wiped out by him. Even the few that remained could only flee and were in disarray. Damn it! I've always heard that the heaven level is called a god level talent, but I never thought that I would have such a strong power just after awakening. What a mistake! The leading black-robed man looked embarrassed. After all, heaven level powerhouses were rare and few people could see them with their own eyes. The information they had about heaven-level powerhouses was also limited. I originally thought that even if it was a heavenly grade, it couldn't be that strong after just awakening. Who would have thought it would be so terrifying? Then he looked into the distance again. The monster riot at the entrance won't last long. We can't delay here any longer. Thinking that the border troops that suppressed the monster riot would probably arrive soon, the man in black robe gritted his teeth, and his whole body seemed to be activated by some secret method. A thicker and darker black energy than before completely enveloped him. At the same time, his body began to grow rapidly, and the black robe that was originally draped over his body was torn apart in an instant, and a pair of pitch-black blood wings spread out from behind him. In an instant, the appearance of the man in black robe suddenly became no different from the blood bats in the air. But both in size and the aura they exude, they are much more powerful than those ordinary blood bats. At this moment, the man in black robe was 10 meters tall, and his skin had turned purple-black with strands of red veins flowing on it. His muscles are knotty and strong. Knowing that time was running out, the man in black robe changed his shape without any pause. He instantly turned into a shadow and swooped down towards Chu Chen. Its fists were clenched, and the muscles in its two huge arms were squeezed together like steel, as if it was going to smash Chu Chen into pieces with one blow. Sensing the terrifying aura emanating from the man in black robe, Chu Chen's face did not show the slightest fear. He even felt that these blood bats were too weak for him to kill with pleasure. Come! With a low roar, he did not dodge at all, but instead attacked the opponent directly with the spear in his hand. The thick rock elemental force continued to gather on the tip of the white-tasseled spear, ready to be unleashed, until it collided heavily with the black-robed man's fists. Boom! Two huge forces exploded instantly. A strong wind whistled in all directions, and the residual force instantly broke the giant trees that seemed tall and indestructible. It was not until this moment that the man in black robe realized that his own strength could not even shake Chu Chen in the slightest. Although he tried his best to use up all his energy and blood, the power generated by Chu Chen's explosion should not be underestimated. For a moment, the two of them were deadlocked in midair and neither of them gave in. Buzz! The ground beneath the black-robed man suddenly began to tremble slightly, followed by a loud bang. A jade rock ridge actually broke out from under his body. Strong elemental power instantly erupted from it, and the waves that spread in all directions directly disrupted the power of the black-robed man. There was a gap in the black-robed man's attack. Chu Chen seized this opportunity and once again mobilized the terrifying energy and blood in his body. Then, with a swing, he actually cut off one of the opponent's thick arms. The intense pain caused the man in black to roar uncontrollably. The huge sound waves spread in all directions, creating a roar. Oh no! Enduring the pain, the man in black robe suddenly felt something was wrong. The shout he just made completely exposed their location. When it thought that the troops stationed outside would arrive soon, it no longer had the will to fight and its mind was filled with only how to retreat. After a pause, as if he had made some kind of decision, the man in black robe roared again, and suddenly stretched out his remaining big hand, grabbing all the other members of the 10,000 races sect present in his hand and throwing them into his mouth. It was visible to the naked eye that the black-robed man's severed arm was restored to its original state in an instant. Then, a loud roar came from its mouth again. Unlike the previous roar of pain, this time the sound was mixed with some special melody. Then, boom, boom. The whole earth began to shake violently. Boom. Dust rose up in all directions, and giant trees were smashed into pieces. The magical beasts living on the outskirts of the forest seemed to be bewitched by something and rushed towards this side uncontrollably. Oh no! Another beast tide. The man who had been secretly observing from a distance suddenly felt something was wrong. It was said that there was a secret method in the 10,000 races sect, which could attract the surrounding monsters to become violent and cause them to riot by paying a certain price. The man in black robe devoured the power of other believers and launched a tide of beasts again. The man gritted his teeth, and then two flames shot up from behind him. He had not taken action before because Chu Chen could still handle it. But now the beast tide was coming this way again, and he could no longer continue to observe. The scorching sun burst out from the man's body, turning him into a red fire man, and the torrential rain now could not extinguish the fire on his body at all. Since he was sent by Luo Zhenqi to secretly protect Chu Chen, the man's strength should not be underestimated. His talent is ordinary sequence A level, and his realm has reached the middle stage of the 4th level of moving mountains. Although he alone cannot stop the beast tide now, he still has to delay as many monsters as possible to avoid endangering Chu Chen. In an instant, the man turned into a dazzling flame and rushed into the nearby beast tide. Chapter 17. Oh no! Hasn't the support team arrived yet? Through the recorder on the man, Luo Zhenqi could see everything that happened in the forest. Report. We have arrived nearby and are fighting against the monsters rushing over from all directions. The team originally sent to support had arrived near Chu Chen's location, but was intercepted due to the beast tide. Countless roars and charges were heard, and the terrifying energy fluctuations caused by the battle spread instantly. The sounds of killing were heard everywhere, and the strong smell of blood could not be washed away even by heavy rain. Chu Chen realized that the nearby army that came to support him had already started a head-on conflict with the beast tide. He saw more and more monsters starting to rush towards this side. The black-robed man even showed a cunning look of joy on his face, and he wanted to retreat with the remaining blood bats. Roars were heard one after another, and the huge bodies of monsters fell one after another, but in the blink of an eye, they would take the lives of many human warriors. The reason why Chu Chen had wasted so much time with this group of blood bats was because, driven by revenge, he did not want these guys to die easily. He wanted to pierce the bodies of these enemies one by one and make them feel the most extreme pain. But now it's not just him who is affected. The army that came to support him are also involved. Chu Chen knows that he can't delay any longer. Just in time, my strength has just become much stronger. After awakening the talent of the god of rock and undergoing continuous experience upgrades, Chu Chen can now drive the rock elements in his body to fly in the air. His figure quickly flew into the sky, breaking through the obstruction of dozens of meters of giant trees, and was completely exposed to everyone's eyes. The magical beasts rushing over nearby were driven by the man in black robes, and their original target was Chu Chen. Now that he appeared, the magical beasts that were fighting with the army around them turned their spears around and rushed towards him regardless of anything. For a moment, all kinds of strange-looking monsters running on the ground, flying in the sky, all rushed towards Chu Chen. Oh no! We must stop these beasts from advancing. Damn it, these beasts are simply crazy. Unless we kill them quickly, there is no way we can stop them. We have to do it even if it means we all die here, we have to save Chu Chen. In the team, countless soldiers had resolute expressions. Their mission was to protect Chu Chen no matter what. Luo Zhenqi, who was far away in the command room, had a serious look on his face and slammed his fist on the table. The originally thick solid wood round table was smashed to pieces in an instant, and he couldn't help shaking all over. Chu Chen, what on earth were you thinking? Exposing yourself in public. That's heavenly level. Luo Zhenqi didn't want to think about it, and didn't dare to think about what the consequences would be if Chu Chen encountered an accident. Now, he could only pin his hopes on Mo Suihan who had already arrived. In the current desperate situation, only Mo Suihan, the Imperial Capital Commissioner and a 6th-level star-picking realm expert, can turn the tide. At the same time, the beast tide was getting closer and closer to Chu Chen's position. The densely packed huge bodies gathered together, roaring continuously. Seeing that this large group of monsters was about to attack Chu Chen, Mo Suihan, who had been hiding in the dark, finally showed up. You are able to possess such terrifying power on the second day of awakening. Your strength is enough to prove that you are worthy of your talent. You have done very well. Now it's time to rest. She whispered to herself softly, and strong dark green light gathered around Mo Suihan like sharp wind blades. But the next moment, just as she was about to launch an attack, a look of astonishment once again appeared on Mo Suihan's originally calm face. At the same time, not only Mo Suihan, but everyone present, even Luo Zhenqi and others who were far away in the command room, opened their mouths in surprise. But Chu Chen moved his lips slightly and said slowly, "The sky moves, everything changes." In an instant, a huge and deep black hole suddenly spread above everyone's heads. Above Chu Chen, the originally inky black clouds were split by a dazzling golden light. The torrential rain that was originally roaring around seemed to be suppressed by some force and suddenly stopped abruptly. The bright light at the center of the black hole reflected the nearby clouds and turned them into gorgeous golden clouds. The extremely terrifying power of heaven descended from the sky, filling all those who witnessed the scene with fear. Even the violent and will-less monsters had to stop their restless bodies and stay where they were. As for the black-robed men and the blood bats who originally wanted to take the opportunity to escape, after the black hole covered their heads, they all felt a majestic aura as if the emperor himself was present and ruling the world. They wanted to escape, but their bodies were no longer under their control. They could only watch helplessly as a huge object suddenly appeared in the brightest light. The square shape is made up of solid pieces of meteorites. Bright gold and stone pieces shine on the originally dark material, and you can vaguely see the ripples flowing in it spreading rapidly. What is that? A meteorite? A shooting star? That's not right, why is it so dazzling? What on earth is this? Everyone has been conquered by the miracle in the sky that seems like a divine punishment. The star that looks gorgeous like a work of art, brings the most brutal killing. The monsters below began to tremble violently, with endless despair revealed in their eyes. They could do nothing but watch the stars in the sky grow bigger and bigger until they were pressing down on their heads. Monster! When it came to the end, the man in black could only murmur. The huge star suppressed the figures of the blood bats and the black-robed men as they fell from the sky, until they crashed into the beast tide, raising huge clouds of dust into the sky. Boom! Boom 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 boom! Then, the deafening roar and explosion sound entangled together and spread together. Oh no! Many people suddenly showed fear on their faces because they found themselves in the range of the star. But they soon discovered that the breathtaking divine power that fell in front of them had no effect on them. But the light produced by the explosion still made everyone close their eyes, as if time had stopped, leaving only the violent roar and the violent hurricane whistling in their ears. Chapter 18. Ding! Host level increased, current level, 11. It was unknown how long the residual power of the explosion lasted, but the dazzling light still made everyone feel stinging and numb. The dense forest beneath Chu Chen was now reduced to a shockingly huge pit. In fact, due to the limitations of his current strength, the stars he summoned are still at the most basic level in terms of size and power. As Chu Chen's realm continues to improve, the size and power of Tianxing will increase accordingly, and it may grow to the size of a planet. At that time, using Tiandong Wangxiang will be the most terrifying. Since they were located on the outskirts of the forest, even if the black-robed man triggered a beast riot, the levels of these monsters themselves were not high, most of them were hovering around the first level, and the stronger ones might be able to reach the early second level. This single star is enough to kill 8 out of 10 of them. The stronger survivors will also be severely injured and petrified on the spot. It's nothing to the remaining border troops. The experience gained from destroying these monsters and the blood bats he slaughtered before directly raised Chu Chen's level to level 11. It can be said that he has officially entered the Kaiwan realm of the second level awakener. Ding! The host's conditions have been detected to be met. The first legendary mission will be launched at an irregular time within 3 days. Please be prepared at any time. The system's voice came again, but Chu Chen had no time to think about it, he was too tired. The level increase did not restore his strength. Now Chu Chen just felt exhausted all over, and his eyes kept blurring. The intense hatred was vented as he continued to slaughter until sleepiness completely engulfed him, and Chu Chen fell uncontrollably to the ground. But in the next moment, a dark green light suddenly appeared, and Mo Suihan appeared in the air. He held the sleeping man in his arms and landed him steadily on the ground. The beast-tide riot came and went quickly. The remaining warriors had no time to continue to marvel at the amazing scene, and there were also awakened people who survived waiting for them to rescue. As well as those petrified monsters, they also needed to clean up the battlefield quickly. Everything that followed was proceeding in an orderly manner, but Mo Suihan just looked at Chu Chen in his arms, his originally calm eyes trembling slightly. I don't know how long I slept until the bright sunlight shone through the window onto Chu Chen's face. After getting up from the bed and stretching, he felt that his strength was restored. The powerful force brought by the level increase was also constantly flowing in the body, sweeping away the previous tiredness. Strange, how did I get back to my own home? After opening his eyes, Chu Chen was surprised to find himself lying on the bed in his bedroom. He couldn't remember how he got back home. His memory seemed to be disconnected. He only remembered that he seemed to lose consciousness and fell from mid-air, and then what happened? Chu Chen rubbed his brows, trying to force himself to remember. I seem to be caught by something, what is it? Then he remembered that at the moment when he completely lost consciousness, he did not seem to fall to the ground. How to describe that feeling? It seemed soft and warm, a feeling he had never experienced before. Since he couldn't remember, Chu Chen finally gave up. He went to the bathroom, washed himself thoroughly, then wrapped himself in a simple bath towel and looked at himself in the mirror carefully. For some reason, he found that there were faint golden lines on the muscles of his exposed upper body. These lines are not obvious and are difficult to find without careful observation. Were these patterns there when you looked at it before? Chu Chen muttered in confusion. You're awake. Suddenly, a cold voice was heard. In the mirror, Mo Suihan's figure appeared behind Chu Chen without anyone noticing. This sudden scene was obviously beyond his expectations. Chu Chen turned around abruptly and looked at Mo Suihan, who was right in front of him. He was also a little panicked and didn't know what to do. Mo. Actually, I occasionally serve as a teaching assistant at the Imperial Academy. If you don't know what to call me, just call me teacher. Mo Suihan has a slender figure and is about 1.78 meters tall. Now standing in front of Chu Chen, his eyes were almost facing his collarbone. Although Mo Suihan's beautiful eyes were calm, no one knew what she was thinking. She suddenly said, "Nice figure." Ah! Chu Chen was stunned for a moment, and then realized that he was only wrapped in a simple bath towel, so he quickly said, "Mr. Mo, I'm going to change my clothes first." Without waiting for the other party's response, he rushed back to his room, rummaged through the closet and found a relatively new set of clothes to change into. Only then did he dare to come out of the room again. At this time, Mo Suihan was already sitting on the sofa in the living room. Seeing Chu Chen come out again, he motioned him to sit next to him. "Explain what happened last night." She raised her eyebrows slightly, with a faint smile on her lips. "Last night? Did I just sleep for one night? I thought I slept for several days. Look at this." Mo Suihan suddenly held out her mobile phone to Chu Chen again. It was a news app, but the local column was filled with the same picture. What was shown in the picture was the star that Chu Chen summoned last night, but his figure was not there. Surprise! A mysterious meteorite fell from the sky into the Mangri forest. The unidentified meteor is a miracle, streaking across the night sky and illuminating the sky. Last night, there was a monster riot in the wild forest. Click to watch the first news. Lonely at home? Download. Different titles, but apart from the advertisements, all of them are written by Chu Chen. When the first beast riot occurred last night, the military blocked the area near the forest and did not allow anyone to enter. Therefore, the public could only see the meteorite falling from the sky from afar, but did not see that it was you who summoned it. We are very surprised. We learned from the Awakening Hall that your awakened ability is related to rocks and the earth, but the next day you were able to summon a meteorite out of thin air. This. Mo Suihan shook her head and said with some regret. She had naturally seen other heaven-level awakeners before. These guys with god-level talents all had their own abnormalities. But no matter how perverted he is not as perverted as Chu Chen, a monster who can rub meteorites with his hands to hit the blue planet the next day. Chapter 19. Teacher Mo, I would like to ask, how many years have humans mastered the power of awakening? Facing Mo Suihan's doubts, Chu Chen asked instead. This question obviously caught Mo Suihan off guard, but after a moment of groaning, she still said, the invasion of alien races and the advent of monsters began 500 years ago. At that time, humans used their own scientific and technological strength to fight against them for 100 years. 400 years ago, the supernatural power broke out and the first human awakener appeared. After another 100 years of exploration, humans began to grasp the laws of awakening. Later, they gradually built the Awakening Hall so that everyone could awaken. According to this calculation, humans have only mastered the ability to awaken for 300 years. Chu Chen calculated. Well, in these 300 years, we cannot say that we have a deep understanding of the awakening ability. We have only mastered it in the initial stage. Mo Suihan nodded. So, Mr. Mo, we humans still only have a partial understanding of the ability of awakening. Your questions are also my questions. I only know that I was given this power after awakening, and I don't know the specific reasons. If you want to ask how the meteorite appeared, I can't explain it to you clearly. I can only say that this is one of the effects of my awakened abilities, that's all. What Chu Chen said makes sense. 400 years have passed since the first awakener appeared, and awakening superpowers is still the main focus of research by humanity's cutting-edge scientific researchers. How can he, an ordinary student, explain it? After hearing Chu Chen's answer, Mo Suihan had no choice but to nod and give up. After all, when it comes to awakening, no one can master all the rules and mysteries involved. Mo Suihan said nothing more, because she had been staying here since she brought Chu Chen back last night. Now that she saw that he was safe and sound, the uneasiness in her heart gradually dissipated. She had asked all the questions she needed to ask, and she didn't know what to say next. As for Chu Chen, even though he has lived 2 lives as a human being, dealing with people is still his weakness. He has never been a person who can take the initiative to bring up a topic. He usually plays the role of just a quiet listener. For a moment, neither of them spoke, and the living room seemed to be filled with some subtle atmosphere. Chu Chen, I have another question. After a moment's silence, Mo Suihan suddenly spoke again. You, whether it was the trial the day before yesterday or the killing of those monsters and aliens in the forest last night, did you feel uncomfortable? Mo Suihan had witnessed with his own eyes the scene of Chu Chen fighting after awakening. Whether facing beast-like monsters, or alien races and members of the 10,000 races religion whose bodies were not much different from humans, Chu Chen's movements to kill them were always very quick and decisive. Even when the bodies of the enemies exploded in front of him, broken limbs fell to the ground, blood splattered and flowed like a river, no matter how bloody the scene was, she never saw any tremor on Chu Chen's face. Except when facing the Bloodbat clan and the hatred in his heart was aroused, Chu Chen always had a calm expression on his face. He looked like a student who had just reached adulthood. Many students like him didn't even dare to kill a chicken, but Chu Chen could kill people so calmly. Even for awakeners of a special sequence, after entering the space for trials, they will have more or less psychological changes because they witness the bloody scenes for the first time, and some may even collapse directly. Therefore, the trial not only tests the abilities of the awakened, but more importantly, their courage and psychological endurance. But Chu Chen showed no fear or discomfort at all, just like what? A professional killer who had been professionally trained since childhood, experienced all kinds of life and death trials, and crawled out of a pile of dead bodies. But after checking Chu Chen's resume, Mo Suihan discovered that in the past 17 years, Chu Chen had never personally experienced any bloody scenes, except for the time when his city was invaded by aliens when he was 3 years old and he witnessed his parents being attacked and killed, and then he lived in an orphanage and lived alone. Could it be that this young man in front of me really has no psychological burden after the killing? Mo Suihan recalled her first battle after awakening her superpowers. That time, she was facing a monster that looked like a rat, but after killing it with her own hands, she almost vomited because of the bloody scene. Teacher Mo, why do you have to feel psychologically burdened? They are our enemies. Chu Chen said calmly. If I don't kill them, they'll kill me. Chu Chen closed his eyes. Ever since he came to this world and witnessed his parents being brutally slaughtered by aliens, and he could only watch helplessly, he had developed the habit of having nightmares frequently. The nightmare scene always repeated the rainy night when he was 3 years old, watching his parents die in front of him again and again. After arriving in this world, he realized firsthand that all unfavorable situations in the world are caused by the lack of ability of the parties involved. Over the past decade, the hatred in Chu Chen's heart has never been extinguished, but it is well hidden under his calm appearance. So finally at the age of 18, he awakened his power, but this only made the hatred in his heart more intense. This is why, after seeing the group of bloodbats last night, Chu Chen instantly lost his mind, and the only thing on his mind was slaughter, slaughter. He remembered that Emperor Rock King had 2 sides, the killing side and the protecting side, one facing outward and the other facing inward. Living in this illusory peace that can be shattered at the slightest tear, in troubled times, killing is for better protection. Since I am destined to have this ability, why do I have a psychological burden after facing foreign enemies and killing them? As for his answer, Mo Suihan seemed a little silent. Finally, she nodded gently, it's good that you think so. There is no need to show mercy when facing the enemy. Although I don't know why Chu Chen could have such extraordinary courage so early, only in this way can he survive to the end in the brutal war with foreign races. But there is one more thing to say. Although it may not seem appropriate to say it, I still want to say it. From now on, you have to learn to be selfish for a while. A complicated look appeared in Mu Suihan's eyes, which was unpredictable. Selfish. When Chu Chen heard this word, he couldn't help but frown. Chapter 20. Yes, it's selfish. Last night I even hoped that you wouldn't take action, because if something unexpected happened, do you know how much damage it would cause to our entire human race? Mo Suihan gradually crossed his hands together and clasped them tightly, and sighed softly, have you ever heard that all men are created equal? This statement itself is correct, but it is not so absolute in this day and age. Perhaps equality only exists at the moment of birth. In the days that follow, different family circumstances, backgrounds, appearances and abilities will gradually create an invisible boundary between you and others. And this boundary will become clearer and more indelible after you awaken at the age of 18. It's cruel to say that you are very lucky, because as a special sequence, you are more important than ordinary sequence awakeners. As a heaven-level awakener, you must be more outstanding than the human-level and earth-level awakeners. You will grow rapidly and eventually shoulder the responsibility of humanity, because it is the geniuses like you who play the biggest role in determining whether humanity can win the war against alien races. He is a genius who can survive and grow up. Mo Suihan's tone became heavier, but Chu Chen just listened quietly, remaining silent. He is very good at being a man of few words. The future of mankind requires sacrifice, but unless it is necessary, I will never let you be the one who does it. Perhaps it is because of different duties. As a heaven-level person, you are shouldering the most important and irreplaceable burden. Do you know that the troops sent to support you yesterday were actually very clear in their hearts that if anything unexpected had happened last night, they would rather be wiped out and sacrificed on the spot than do their utmost to save you, because your life is more important than those of their ordinary sequence awakeners combined. It's too cruel to say this, but it's an indisputable fact. The Bloodbat clan and the myriad clan cult's followers have appeared behind Yunhai City. This means that unknown dangers may have been accumulated in secret, and it's unknown when these dangers will erupt and turn into a brutal war. So at this critical juncture, it is even more impossible for us to put you at risk. At this point, Mo Suihan suddenly smiled and pointed at himself and said, I'm not bragging. Although my talent is not as good as yours, I am still a human-level existence belonging to the special sequence. My star-picking realm makes me a very powerful and important fighting force among humans. My growth is also the result of the hard work and dedication of many people. I can reach this level, and the resources and price invested in me are incalculable. But even so, if you encounter any danger, I will save you even if it means sacrificing myself. Because this is my duty, and my life is far less important than yours. Mo Suihan seemed to have finished speaking, and at the end, there seemed to be a hint of sob in his tone. But Chu Chen just kept his head down and remained silent. What was he going to say? Should he be thankful? He should be thankful that he was so noble and so important that the higher UPS would protect him no matter what the cost. Bloodshed and sacrifice will never be thrown at you for the first time, and your protection will be the priority in any situation. Heaven-level talent is called God-level talent. But God knows that your growth has cost the blood and sweat of countless unknown people. Looking at the teacher in front of him whom he had only met for 2 days, Chu Chen suddenly realized that Mo Suihan did not seem to be much older than himself. But after thinking for a long time, Chu Chen finally spoke slowly. Giving is never one-sided. If I encounter such a thing again, I will still help if my strength allows. Of course, protecting yourself comes first. Chu Chen's words were very firm. Who says that a heavenly level of growth must come at the cost of the sacrifice of those below? That was someone else. If he was just an ordinary heaven-level person, then what would be the point of me traveling to this world? As long as he has the system, he can quickly improve his level and realm. He does not need huge resources from the outside world. At least now, everything the system gives him is irreplaceable. There is no need to let others bleed for me, just look at how I behave as a human being. In Chu Chen's heart, the urgency to become stronger was ignited once again. Well, at least you have an upright character. After all, what scares us more than the death of a heaven level is that heaven level turns against us. There was a look of relief on Mo Suihan's face. In any case, it seemed that Chu Chen in front of her didn't need too much guidance from her. Thinking of this, she breathed a sigh of relief and decided not to stay in Chu Chen's house any longer. She stood up and was about to leave. Anyway, I'm relieved that you're okay. Because of the Bloodbat clan and the 10,000 clan cult, the forest outside Yunhai City has been blocked by the military. Don't even think about going there for training during this period. But before leaving, Mo Suihan seemed to suddenly think of something. By the way, I just received a notice from above. This year is different from previous years. They are going to hold a special training camp for you newly awakened awakeners for a period of 1.5 months. The main purpose is to gather you together before the official start of school and conduct systematic training in advance. Special training camp. That's right. According to your qualifications, you will be assigned to different camps for training. Your camp is naturally a special sequence like you from other regions. Mo Suihan raised his eyebrows and smiled meaningfully. Anyway, everything is not fully implemented yet. I will take you there when the camp officially opens. You just stay here honestly for the time being. After saying this, Mo Suihan disappeared from the spot in an instant. Special training camp? It doesn't matter. What matters now is, without the experience of fighting wild monsters, how can I quickly improve my level? But Chu Chen didn't seem to care about the special training camp the other party mentioned. He was more concerned about how to gain more experience points in the future. Just as he was thinking hard, the system's voice in his mind sounded at the right time, ding. Congratulations to the host for reaching level 10 and unlocking a new skill, Army of 1,000 Rocks. In order to make the host more familiar with his current strength, the system will open a simulated battlefield for the host. The simulated battlefield is loading, please wait. The system's voices sounded in series. Before Chu Chen could react, he felt himself being completely swallowed up by the darkness. Chapter 21. Rustle, rustle. When Chu Chen regained his senses, the first thing he felt was the sound of waves in his ears. The breeze rolled up the sea surface, and a faint fishy smell came to my nose. Virtual battlefield. Chu Chen opened his eyes and found himself on an isolated island. The area of the isolated island is not very large, and it is surrounded by endless sea level. Ding! The host will have 3 minutes to familiarize himself with his newly unlocked ability. After 3 minutes, the battle will officially begin. The system's voice sounded briefly. After knowing that the battle would begin in 3 minutes, Chu Chen quickly opened his virtual panel and scanned his newly unlocked ability bar, an army of 1,000 rocks. The host's rock climbing power is further enhanced. Now, with the rock element as the medium, the host can gather the world's solid rock climbing to forge an ancient army of thousands of rocks to assist in the battle. The Qunyan army can fight independently or under the control of the host. The current number of 1,000 rocks that can be condensed, 4, as the host's level increases, the number of 1,000 rocks that can be condensed will also increase. Qunyan army talent, unity. Every time a 1,000 rocks army is gathered to join the battle, the host and the 1,000 rocks army will gain a 5% attack power increase and a 4% critical strike rate increase, which can be stacked up to 4 times. The attribute amplification effect and the maximum number of stacking layers will increase according to the host's realm. Talent, integration. When the host releases the Jade Shield for itself, the 1,000 rock army will also gain the Jade Shield, but the shield's effectiveness is only 60% of the host's original effect. Introduction. If the rocks are strong, the mountains and seas will not fall. If the thousands of rocks are guarding, the evil will not prevail. If the thousands of rocks are strong, the mountains will not move. If the thousands of cities are armed, the demons will be suppressed. There was a dense mass of new information before his eyes. Chu Chen quickly schemed through it, then tried to resonate with the rock climbing beneath his feet to bring them together. Buzz! 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 There was no difficulty at all. Accompanied by 4 slight strange noises, 4 tall and burly figures appeared out of thin air around Chu Chen. These 1,000 rock army soldiers formed by mountain rocks are tightly wrapped in dark yellow heavy armor all over their bodies. These armors fully arm the 1,000 rock army to the teeth, so it is impossible to see the appearance hidden under the mask. In their hands, each of them held a huge rock spear. The tip of the spear looked like a whole piece of sharpened black rock, appearing heavy and sharp. Chu Chen tried to control a Qunyan soldier. Under his will, the rock spear in the Qunyan soldier's hand suddenly blasted out from his hand, smashing a piece of rock in front of him into pieces. Chu Chen was very satisfied with this performance. At this stage, the 4,000 rocks army can indeed provide him with great help. Moreover, the strength and number of these 1,000 rock armies themselves have growth potential and will increase along with their own future improvements. In this way, the talent of this rock climbing army will not fall behind in any version. In 10 seconds, the first group of enemies will rush out from the sea. Please be prepared, host. The system's mechanical prompt sounded again. Upon hearing this, Chu Chen waved his hand lightly, and the white tassel spear was tightly grasped in his hand. In the subsequent battle, Chu Chen did not plan to control the Qunyan army himself, but wanted to see what kind of strength the Qunyan army could exert by relying on instinct and autonomous fighting. 3, 2, 1. As the last prompt sounded, the originally bright sky was instantly covered by dark clouds. On the surrounding sea, the wind grew stronger and stronger, creating even bigger waves. Then, dense screams rang out from all directions, and monsters with black bodies and various appearances jumped out of the sea and pounced towards him. These monsters were so powerful that they covered the entire world in the blink of an eye. Although there are many of them, one sky star is enough to destroy them all. However, the isolated island under Chu Chen's feet is now limited in area. If he directly summons the stars to fall, I am afraid that the entire island will sink to the bottom of the sea. If he lost his footing and kept flying in the air, it would consume additional strength in his body. Moreover, he wanted to see the strength of the Qunyan army, so Chu Chen did not plan to go all out right away. Seeing these monsters getting closer and closer, the 4 Qunyan soldiers blocking him immediately began to move. Until the front group of monsters arrived in front of them, the 4 Qunyan soldiers suddenly stood up and drew their guns at the same time. In an instant, 4 huge rock spears left a dark afterimage in the air and pierced towards the pile of monsters with the force of thunder. The flashing cold light from the gun tip also flashed like lightning, puff, 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 puff. For a moment, it was unclear how many shots were fired, and blood splattered everywhere in the dense group of monsters. Broken limbs and heads flew all over the place, and the first batch of monsters that arrived were killed instantly. The monsters behind Chu Chen and on both sides also arrived in front of them one after another. With a cold snort, the white tassel spears in their hands suddenly flew out one after another. In an instant, a force even more violent and terrifying than that of the Thousand Rocks army erupted in Chu Chen's hands. Along with the horizontal slashing and stabbing of the white tassel spear, arcs of golden rock elemental power continuously drew in the air. The monsters in the 3 directions didn't have time to react and were completely wiped out in a moment. However, the number of these monsters seems endless. As soon as the first batch falls, the second batch will come immediately. As the number of beasts increased, the 4,000 rock army soldiers gradually became exhausted. Their killing speed was far behind the speed at which the monsters were coming from behind. Upon realizing this, Chu Chen's eyes flashed, and he thrust the spear into the ground with both hands. As solid as a rock. The square jade shield suddenly appeared around him. At the same time, the bodies of the 4 Qunyan soldiers also shone with golden resonance. The same jade shield also appeared around them, but its strength was slightly weaker than Chu Chen's own shield. But even so, it is more than enough to face these monsters. No matter how dense the monsters are, their attacks cannot shake the shield at all. From this, Chu Chen can also conclude that although these monsters are numerous, their individual strength is not that strong. It is just equivalent to an ordinary early or middle stage first level monster. As a result, Chu Chen lost interest in continuing to deal with these monsters. At least he had a clear assessment of the strength of the Qunyan army in his heart. Chapter 22. Boom! With a loud noise, a huge rock ridge rose from under Chu Chen's feet. The ripples that subsequently surged out from the rock ridge in all directions instantly knocked away the monsters that were rushing up from the surroundings. At the same time, rock spears made of rocks appeared out of thin air, turning into a dense rain of guns that smashed into the beast tide, setting off a massacre. Chu Chen stood on the ridge with his hands clasped in front of his chest, overlooking everything happening below. When the 4 members of the Qunyan army fought independently, they were not just attacking and defending, they were also able to cooperate with each other. Even when faced with some difficult to defend situations, they are still able to form formations independently and support each other. Although there are only 4 of them, their explosive combat power is far beyond what those seemingly endless monsters can achieve. Seeing this, Chu Chen couldn't help but feel a little relieved. He was glad that he had unlocked the ancient Qunyan army, rather than the ordinary Qunyan army of later peacetime. After all, the ancient Thousand Rocks army, although small in number, was very elite. During the Demon God War, they followed the Emperor to sweep across the world. Batches of Thousand Rocks army deployed in battle formations and were even able to hold back 1 or 2 demon gods alone. The ordinary Qunyan army in peacetime cannot be compared with the ancient Qunyan army at all. Perhaps it is because of the long period of peace that their own combat effectiveness has been greatly reduced, and they can't even lift the weapons of the ancient Qunyan army. If he had only unlocked the ordinary Qunyan army, it would be impossible for him to exert such strength. Now, batches of monsters have fallen one after another, and their corpses have gradually piled up on the beach, making the sea water turbid. At present, for Chu Chen, the quantitative change of these monsters cannot cause a qualitative change. Although there are many of them, they are enough to be dealt with by the Thousand Rock army, the rock ridge and the rain of guns he condensed. The monsters that rush forward one after another will be instantly crushed by the Thousand Rocks army, and the monsters that manage to escape the Thousand Rocks army's attack range will be blown away by the shock of the rock ridges. So Chu Chen doesn't have to do anything now. He just needs to watch quietly, watching this seemingly endless beast tide and when it will come to its end. However, it lasted for more than 10 minutes, and the beast tide around seemed endless, constantly pouring out of the sea. Tisk! Seeing that the monsters showed no signs of abating, Chu Chen suddenly twisted his neck. Too slow. This goes on, and although it's effortless for him, when will it end? It feels good to be in charge of the center, but it gets boring after a while. After saying this, Chu Chen held the white tassel spear in his hand again. The golden light of the rock element continued to spread around him, and golden light burst out of his eyes, just like a god. In just a moment, his entire body turned into a long rainbow that pierced the sun and rose into the sky. Overlooking the densely packed area below, Chu Chen found the center and charged forward again with great force. He turned into a golden meteor and fell towards the most densely packed area of the beast tide. The rock element in his body began to surge violently, and then exploded in an instant. Chu Chen fell to the ground, with himself as the center, and a powerful force exploded, roaring in all directions. It was like a small deserted planet, instantly killing all the monsters within hundreds of meters around it. Ding! The virtual battlefield time will end in 30 seconds. A mechanical system prompt sound suddenly rang out. There was a hint of helplessness in Chu Chen's eyes. He had just wanted to relieve the feeling of fighting with his own hands. In that case, Chu Chen shook off the blood on the tip of the gun, and the white tassel was still fluttering in the wind. The heavens move everything. A huge black hole spread out above the sky, and golden light shone brightly in the center. The golden clouds surrounding it also dance and swirl along with the vast ocean. The stars in the sky, their blazing light scattered like the blazing sun, falling from a great height, also announced the arrival of divine punishment. Wherever it passed, there was a rumbling roar, and when it was about to approach the top of the beast tide, many monsters were evaporated directly under this tremendous force. Boom! Until the star slammed into the sea, the isolated island under Chu Chen's feet collapsed instantly. A huge wave suddenly rose up, and in an instant, everything was annihilated, leaving nothing behind. Ding! The virtual battlefield time has expired, and we are about to be teleported. The deep darkness once again obscured Chu Chen's eyes, until he opened them again, and the scene before him returned to his home again. And he still maintained the same sitting posture on the sofa as before. But what followed was a feeling of boredom and melancholy. The forest has now been blocked, and his originally planned training plan has been interrupted. Come to think of it, I remember before I fell asleep, the system seemed to say that it would trigger a legendary quest for me within 3 days. The legendary mission, once completed, means that he can unlock his first constellation. Regardless of the specific strength effect, it is no surprise that it will greatly improve Chu Chen's strength. I wonder what kind of mission it will be. Just when Chu Chen was feeling melancholy, the doorbell suddenly rang outside the door. Through perception, Chu Chen was the first to notice the person outside the door, Mu Sui Huang. Without thinking, he walked straight to the door and opened it. The energetic girl in front of him grinned. Then he walked in as if he was at home, and sat down on the sofa without any hesitation. Chu Chen was not surprised by this. After all, on the first day he met Mu Sui Huang, the first impression this girl gave him was that she was carefree and lively. Mu Sui Huang's face never seemed to show any negative emotions such as frustration. At least in Chu Chen's eyes, this guy had a smile on his face every day. After this guy sat down, his eyes were fixed on Chu Chen's face. His beautiful and lively eyes revealed his unconcealable happiness. Is there something on my face? Chu Chen couldn't help but ask. No, no, no. Mu Sui Huang stretched out a finger and shook it, but I still feel like I'm dreaming. How could this superstar with god-level talent in front of me be my beloved brother, sibling, and relative? I didn't expect that the girl would start joking with me again. He's always in a mess. Chu Chen chuckled and replied. Hey, can you please stop lecturing me in that elder's tone? Besides, who says I'm not well behaved all day long? Mu Sui Huang seemed very unconvinced. She stood up from the sofa in a flash, and then flames danced between her hands. Compared to the last time, the flame unleashed by Mu Sui Huang this time was much stronger in both appearance and temperature. Chapter 23. The flame in Mu Sui Huang's hand gradually condensed and took shape as time passed, and finally turned into a bright red spear held in her hand. Did you finally choose the spear as your weapon? Chu Chen raised his eyebrows slightly. Of course. After all, when we chose the ancient martial arts weapons course, we both chose spearmanship. If we don't use spears as weapons, Wouldn't the past 10 years of training be in vain? Mu Suihuang smiled leisurely, and then as she waved her hand, the flaming spear drew a series of spear flowers in her hand. All of a sudden, Chu Chen's living room was filled with red flames, and he was so frightened that he quickly shouted, "All right, all right. Are you here to burn my house down?" "We." As if realizing that it was not suitable to use elements such as fire in such a small area, Mu Suihuang quickly turned the spear into flames again and dissipated in mid-air. But he still muttered stubbornly, "No, since I used it, it must be accurate. Never mind, I came here to talk to you about something." "What's up?" "Ahem, are you interested in joining me in watching a grand showdown that's only for awakeners?" As Mu Suihuang spoke, she took out 2 masks from the small bag she carried with her. The 2 masks look different, but what they have in common is that each mask is covered with a layer of strange aura. Mu Suihuang handed one of the masks to Chu Chen. He took it and saw that it was a golden mask. This mask seemed to be carefully carved out of black rock, with a golden background dotted with black lines, leaving only space for the 2 eyes, making it look very solemn and majestic. "This is..." Chu Chen stroked the mask carefully, and only a hint of coldness seeped into his fingertips. "Hey, you must have heard of the legendary underground fighting arena that is specially used for awakened people to fight, right?" Mu Suihuang said mysteriously. Underground fighting arena, could it be? Chu Chen seemed to have thought of something. He had also heard of this rumor. It was said that a grand fighting arena was built underground in a secret building somewhere in Yunhai City. This fighting arena was built specifically for duels between awakeners, and even hosts corresponding competitions every year. Every year's competition has very generous rewards, which attracts countless awakened people to participate. However, it is known as an underground fighting arena, and all awakened people must sign a life and death contract before participating in the competition. The awakened people will be responsible for the consequences of participating in the competition. This also means that once participating in the competition, there is a risk of dying on the spot. But despite this, it still attracts many people to participate every year. It is said that the rewards of the competition are enough to make the participants forget their own life and death. Of course, all these were just rumors Chu Chen had heard, and he had no idea whether they were true or not. Because holding a life and death fight between awakened people is strictly prohibited in all countries today. After all, human beings today are still facing countless internal and external troubles, and manpower is urgently needed. No matter which country's government, no one will allow the awakened to waste their lives on this meaningless competition. Is this true? Chu Chen was a little bit unbelievable. Despite regulations expressly prohibiting these events from taking place by various governments, these life and death competitions are still held year after year. How powerful is the force behind this? Yet, it is said that this competition is not only held in Kyushu, but also spread all over the world. These 2 masks are the proof. Mu Suihuang nodded and said. Chu Chen looked at the mask in his hand again. There was a strange aura flowing on the mask. He found that if he put it on, this mask would completely cover up the person's appearance and aura. Have you figured it out? As a secret underground competition, neither the audience nor the contestants are allowed to enter with their real identities. Everyone who qualifies must wear this mask that can conceal their appearance and aura. As long as the 2 of us wear masks, we can enter and watch. Mu Suihuang couldn't wait to put on her mask. It was a completely black mask with a small plum blossom pattern on one side. Although it is just a mask, it covers more than just the small area on the face. Although other parts of the body are not covered, there will be some subtle changes in the eyes of others, making it impossible for outsiders to connect the mask wearer with his true identity. Is there really such a magical mask? It seems that the power behind this underground competition is definitely not mediocre. Chu Chen couldn't help but sigh. Hehe, how is it? Our Yunhai city is basically in a semi-closed state now. It is said that there was a riot and some strange phenomenon in the wild last night, and there was also a meteor hitting the ground or something. I don't know too much. Anyway, since we can't go out to train in the wild, we're just sitting there doing nothing anyway, so why not take this opportunity to observe how other awakened ones fight? After putting on the mask, even the voice uttered by Mu Suihuang became somewhat neutral and confusing, and it was difficult to distinguish between male and female. The average strength of the awakened ones in our Yunhai city is not very high. The highest is only the 4th level awakened one in the military. Most of the contestants in previous years are at the 2nd or 3rd level. Although it is not high, for us who are only at the 1st level, it is also an opportunity to improve. Mu Suihuang continued to speak seductively. Well, even if it doesn't broaden my horizons, it's not bad to kill time. Chu Chen finally nodded. After all, as Mu Suihuang said, if he didn't go to watch the game, he had nothing else to do. But then again, how did you get hold of something so secretive? A new question arose in his mind. Hey, of course I'm not that capable. Someone gave these tickets to my dad, but my dad and mom had already seen them, so they gave them to me. The two masks also symbolize the entrance tickets to the underground fighting arena. It is not wrong for Mu Suihuang to call them tickets. Your father. Yeah, I forgot that your family's business is ranked in the top 10 in Yunhai City. It's not surprising that someone sent this thing to show their appreciation. Chu Chen also remembered that Mu Suihuang was a truly wealthy woman. Her father ran a huge company in Yunhai City, and his assets were ranked among the top in their city. He could be considered an upper-class figure. Although he didn't know why such a wealthy family would be his neighbors. Of course, those who are qualified to watch the game are either rich or noble, although they are definitely not as good as you now. Although these masks can hide a person's aura, it goes without saying that the old guys who rank among the top few in terms of assets in Yunhai City must have seen them. Mu Suihuang nodded repeatedly, not knowing that the group of old guys she was talking about also included her father. Chapter 24. In that case, how do we get to that mysterious underground fighting arena? Chu Chen asked. Of course, the exciting game should be saved for the sleepless night. I'll come find you later in the day. After saying this, Mu Suihuang stood up and left. With nothing to do, Chu Chen could only practice quietly by himself until dusk, when the orange-red sunset shone through the window onto the floor of the house. Night is about to fall. Hey, put on your mask and follow me. At the same time, Mu Suihuang came again. After Chu Chen put on the black and gold mask, she pulled it out and ran outside. After hailing a taxi, the two got in directly. But now both of them were wearing masks that exuded a mysterious aura, and there was an indescribable weirdness about their bodies. The driver turned pale and almost wanted to call the police. But after Mu Suihuang took out a stack of red bills, the driver immediately stepped on the accelerator and took them to the place designated by Mu Suihuang. As the taxi sped along, the last ray of light was lost in the darkness. Until they arrived at the door of a slightly shabby bar in the east of the city. As soon as they entered, a plump young woman in a red cheongsam came up to greet them with a smile. The young woman also wore a strange mask and looked like a fox. She only said, "Dear guests, please follow me." The first floor of the bar was filled with a decadent atmosphere of feasting and revelry, loud and deafening music mixed with countless shouts of joy. The young woman in cheongsam led them towards a staircase that extended under the ground. The staircase kept winding around and around. After about 5 or 6 minutes, a clean and spacious hall appeared in front of them. There was an iron door right in front of the hall. The young woman walked to the door and pulled the handrail. Crack! Welcome to the underground world, please enjoy tonight's visual feast. As the young woman spoke, the iron door slowly opened, revealing the deafening noise inside. This was a gigantic arena, with an immense competition field at its center and spectator seats extending upward all around. Now, at a glance, it was already packed with densely packed crowds of people. The people here were all wearing all kinds of strange masks. In a trance, Chu Chen felt as if he had come to a masquerade ball somewhere. At this moment, the competition area in the center of the arena was also filled with densely packed figures. They also wore strange masks, but each of them had a white nameplate on their back and chest, with various names written on it. I guess they must be tonight's contestants. Mu Suihuang beside Chu Chen was obviously seeing such a scene for the first time. She kept shaking her head and looking around, appearing very curious. You two, please take a seat. Following the guidance of the young woman in cheongsam, there were 2 empty seats in front of them. Ding! The first legendary mission is triggered. Task requirements: please participate in tonight's competition and win first place. Attention, legendary missions cannot be cancelled. If the mission fails, the host will lose the opportunity to unlock the constellation forever. At this moment, the system in my mind became restless again. The legendary mission was actually triggered here. Chu Chen thought with some disbelief, but no matter what, the legendary mission has been issued, and according to the system's introduction, the legendary mission cannot be cancelled. Once failed, he will lose the opportunity to unlock the constellation forever. Really, there's no other choice. At this time, Mu Sui Huang had already sat down, but she suddenly found that Chu Chen beside her was standing still. She couldn't help but look a little worried. Just when she opened her mouth to ask, Chu Chen suddenly asked the young woman beside her, "I want to participate in the competition tonight, can I still sign up?" The voice was not loud, but everyone who heard it was stunned, and the crowd around who were originally cheering also turned their eyes to Chu Chen. The young woman in Cheongsam was obviously caught off guard and was unable to react for a moment. "Chu, BD. Are you crazy?" Mu Sui Huang suddenly jumped up from her seat and almost called out Chu Chen's name subconsciously. "This is a life or death match, and there is a risk of losing one's life." She shouted angrily, and for a moment she couldn't figure out what Chu Chen was thinking. How dare he take the initiative to sign up? Even though he has top-notch talent, there are still huge risks in participating in this kind of competition. "Dear guest, are you sure you want to participate in tonight's game?" The young woman's voice came again, and there seemed to be a hint of teasing in her tone. "He won't participate, leave now." Before Chu Chen could respond, Mu Sui Huang took a step forward, stood in front of him and shouted bluntly. Seeing this scene, Chu Chen gently placed his hand on Mu Sui Huang's shoulder, and the rock element quietly operated and gradually condensed in his hand. Gentle and deep, the power of rock was reassuring and instantly calmed the originally irritable girl. "Believe me." Without further ado, Chu Chen finished his words and turned to the young woman again and replied, "I've already decided to participate in the competition." "Okay, please follow me." After getting a definite answer, the young woman twisted her slender waist and took Chu Chen out of the audience. Only Mu Sui Huang was left standing there in a daze. She had wanted to stop him, but for some reason, Chu Chen's words just now seemed to have a strange magical power that made her feel inexplicably at ease. The Cheongsam young woman brought Chu Chen to a dim room backstage. "Since you want to participate in the competition, please register." The young woman walked to a long mahogany table where a virtual panel was floating. There are so many densely packed clauses listed on it that it is dizzying. "This is the contract you must sign before participating in the competition. You still have a chance to give up. If you continue to insist, we will move on to the next item." The young woman explained. "Continue." Chu Chen was too lazy to look because he had no choice. "Then, you need to give yourself a code name first. After all, anyone who appears here is not allowed to reveal their true identity." The young woman reminded. "Code name?" Chu Chen couldn't help but stroke his chin and thought, and after a moment he spoke leisurely, "In that case, let's call him Zhongli." He thought he was bad at naming, so he might as well just use the name Rock King Emperor Chenchi Xianyu. Zhongli? What a nice name! The young woman in Cheongsam couldn't help but admire. Soon, 2 nameplates with code names were handed over. One was worn in front of Chu Chen himself, and the other was worn behind him by the staff. "Well, you can go to the competition venue now to prepare. The official competition will start in 10 minutes. If you are late, you won't be able to sign up even if you want to." Chapter 25. One side of the room's wall suddenly opened, revealing a dark passage. At the signal from the staff, Chu Chen walked through the passage and came to the other end, which was the competition venue in the center of the fighting arena. According to the young woman, he should be the last contestant to arrive, and his arrival instantly attracted the attention of many people in the stadium and in the audience. "Oh? It's already the final time, I didn't expect there would be new contestants. Haha, I heard that this year's rules have changed a lot compared to previous years. Would you like to place a bet on this new guy as well? Let's throw a few $100,000 to test the waters." Mu Sui Huang, who was sitting in the audience, listened to the discussions of the audience around her and couldn't help but feel nervous again. At this moment, she was regretting so much that she wanted to bring this guy here. Really, this guy has always been so calm. How could he do something so reckless? Mu Sui Huang was going crazy inside. She didn't dare to think about what would happen if Chu Chen really did. Chu Chen, whose mood was completely opposite to Mu Sui Huang's at the moment, began to look at the other contestants nearby with interest. Although these contestants all wore masks that could conceal their appearance and aura, by observing their skin exposed outside their clothes, Chu Chen discovered that there were actually quite a few people from other countries here. Some have eye-catching blonde hair and white or reddish skin, while others have skin of varying degrees of darkness. There are all kinds of races here. It seems that Mu Sui Huang's information is not comprehensive. People from Yunhai City are not the only ones participating in the competition. Chu Chen thought so while quietly observing the aura of other players through perception. Fortunately, there was nothing mysterious to him. Clang clang. At this moment, a deafening and passionate song suddenly came out from the huge speakers right above the fighting arena. The music instantly drowned out the noise in the audience and the crowd gradually quieted down. I'm sorry to have kept you waiting for a long time. I am the host of tonight, and I am the one with the code name, Hungry Wolf. Tonight's game is about to begin. Please enjoy the party. On the podium directly above, a figure wearing a white suit and a Shiba Inu mask appeared at some point. At this moment, he was holding a microphone and speaking passionately. However, this year's competition has undergone a huge change compared to previous years. Please allow me to explain this year's new rules to you. The host, who called himself Hungry Wolf, spoke passionately, causing the audience to roar like a tsunami. Are there really big changes this year? I've said it before, it's really boring to keep watching one-on-one promotion matches. I wonder what new rules there will be this year. A burly man wearing a black bull mask standing next to Chu Chen suddenly shouted, "What's going on? I didn't hear there would be any changes this year." Once these words were spoken, they immediately resonated with the other contestants around them. They had never heard that this year's competition was different from previous years. Chu Chen also frowned slightly. He had heard from Mu Suihuang before that the underground fighting arena had always used a draw and match promotion model. Was there anything different this year? Hehe, please let me keep you in suspense. I can only tell you that all the contestants tonight will play a small game before the official showdown. Only those who pass the game will be able to stand to the end. Then, let's start our first game right away. That's the rock-paper-scissors game. As Garu spoke, the ground of the competition venue suddenly began to tremble. What's going on? Isn't this a fight between awakened people? Why are they playing rock-paper-scissors? A 3-year-old can play rock-paper-scissors? Is this the new change this year? That's really disappointing. However, the word rock-paper-scissors made many viewers shake their heads and sigh. After all, people don't come here to watch children play house. Even the contestants, including Chu Chen, were all surprised, not understanding what would happen tonight. Boom, boom. However, the ground shaking was getting bigger and bigger, even affecting the audience. The original dissatisfied tone was suppressed, and everyone held their breath and looked towards the source of this strange phenomenon, looking towards the entrance of the competition venue. I saw a huge figure slowly walking out of the dark passage. It was a burly man who was nearly 3 meters tall. The man was wearing a red devil mask, and except for a pair of shorts, everything else on his body was exposed. His ferocious muscles were bulging exaggeratedly, and the whole person looked like a huge mountain of flesh. There were wisps of purple light wrapped around his body, which were like devil snakes entwined around him, emitting a very oppressive aura. For a moment, this burly man who suddenly appeared just stood there quietly, exuding a terrifying aura, which made many people feel frightened. Next, let me introduce the rules of the first game to you. Each contestant will play rock-paper-scissors with our referee to determine the winner. The winner can directly enter the next round. Failure does not mean elimination. As long as the contestant can block the referee's fist, the final result will be determined as the winner and enter the next round. The hungry wolf on the platform spoke again. It seems that just talking won't fully understand everyone, so let's introduce it with facts, referee. Along with the howl of a hungry wolf, the burly man who had been motionless suddenly shook, and a cold light suddenly emanated from his eyes that were not covered by the mask, which was chilling. Exist. As the man called, the referee opened his mouth, his voice resounded in everyone's ears like thunder. Then, the referee walked straight to the nearest contestant, who was also a burly man with dark skin. But his physique is far from as tall as the referee. The referee stretched out his hand in front of the big man and whispered, "Scissors. Rock." What? The chosen man obviously had not yet fully reacted to the current situation and was stunned for a moment. Cloth. With the last sound, the referee's outstretched fist suddenly extended 2 fingers, making a scissors shape. The big man was still standing there in a daze, with his hands simply opened and hanging naturally by his side. Hey? I count this as cloth? Did I lose? At this moment, the big man slowly reacted. Bang! But the next moment, the referee's outstretched arm was covered with black rocks. Then, everyone only saw an after image, and the referee suddenly punched the big man. If you enjoyed this video, Please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.